Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Ms. Hilbrook, will you please call roll?
Councilman De La Garza?
I am present.
Councilman Crocker?
Here.
Councilwoman Scott? Here. Councilman Lofgren?
Here.
And Mayor Balknight?
Here.
And again tonight, Councilwoman Solis and Mayor Pro Tem Young will not be joining us.
If y'all please stand with me for the pledges, followed by a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Garza, do you have any announcements this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I do not.
Okay. Any recognitions?
I do not.
All right. Any items from council? Nope. All right. Citizens communication. Once again, we miss you, Mr. Vonderau. Close citizens communication and go into the work session.
All right. Well, tonight is a continuation of our, of course, budget stories. We do plan on wrapping up tonight, and so we'll get through it as quickly as we can. And first up tonight will be Jason going over the Parks and Rec department-related budget stories.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
So, pleased to present the Parks and Recreation budget for you this evening. First, we'll get into the department description. It is a fairly lengthy description, so I'll summarize that a little bit. But the Parks and Recreation Department is responsible for the overall maintenance and appearance of the park system and recreation offerings for the city of Victoria. The Parks Division specifically is responsible. Their responsibilities range from general maintenance and repairs of the facilities to maintaining the overall landscaping of the parks to supporting the conservation and stewardship of the land, water, and our natural resources. The Recreation Division, they are responsible for sports leagues, programming, community-wide events, and supporting the community partnered events that we have throughout the community. And then, of course, we have our Sports Tourism Division. We're super excited about that. And they're responsible, or she's responsible, for enhancing and supporting the current sports events and tournaments while recruiting new sporting tournaments and events to the city of Victoria. We have the organizational chart in front of you. It's the Parks and Recreation Department's comprised of the Parks and Recreation Division, as well as the Community Center and the Golf Course Divisions. We do have a slight shift that we're going to be talking about a little further in detail, but we are looking at adding part-time administrative assistant to a full-time administrative assistant. That would be the only change there. In addition to that, there is a minor reorg that we had from last year's organization chart, where the community center manager now would report directly to the assistant director of Parks and Recreation. Part of the reasoning behind that is we wanted to have the community center a little bit more involved with recreation programs and utilize the facility a little bit more in that regard. And so we felt that it would be beneficial and efficient for us to move the community center manager to directly report to the assistant director.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
That org chart doesn't match your description previously for the divisions. So I'm trying to understand what the discrepancy is. You know, scroll back up.
Oh, the Sports Tourism Division.
Daily Parks Division, Recreation Division, Sports Tourism's off to the side.
Yes, sir.
But in there four, there's one other one?
No, it's just those, the administrative assistants. The sports tourism, while they're funded primarily out of the community center because of the hot fund aspect of it, they do the bulk of the work with the Parks and Recreation Division. So that's the reason why you may see that grayed out versus the community center whenever we do get to that one.
So Where's the recreation division again?
So last year, we combined a park superintendent and the recreation superintendent positions to create a Parks and Recreation superintendent. So if I scroll down the organization chart, you can see the Parks and Recreation superintendent there. They oversee the Parks division, which is in this column, and then the recreation team.
Okay.
Any further questions on that one?
Yeah. So the synergy there is having both community center and all of those folks, the new superintendent reporting to the assistant director.
Director,
Versus before, it wasn't like that.
correct. The department mission is to improve the quality of life for Victoria citizens by providing a comprehensive system of parks, recreation, and cultural programs that encourage health, fitness, relaxation, and cultural enrichment, as well as providing opportunities for conservation, education, and community involvement. And that picture on the left-hand side is a picture of the entire Parks and Recreation Department, which includes the community center and the golf course. Just got a big team.
Has cultural enrichment always been part of the Parks Department?
Well, that's something that we strive to do just with diversity, inclusion, and equity. And so, working with, different organizations throughout the community, just trying to enhance the continued culture of Victoria. And of course, the master plan. So we have some goals and objectives. I won't read through all of them, but I just want to highlight a few. Of course, one of the things that we're undertaking as a department is to update the department mission and vision and our objectives. Another one is phased trail network expansion. We are working with planning and development with that, and that was also identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And then, of course, the sports tourism initiatives, we want to continue focusing on that. Our 2022 highlights, the biggest one is the adoption of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. You would like to thank the Parks and Recreation Commission for helping spearhead that, and then, of course, you as City Council for adopting that plan. So to get into it, the Recreation Division, again, I won't highlight all of these, but just wanted to make you aware of the we want to develop a comprehensive recreation program schedule. So it includes the toddlers, teens, adults, and seniors. We want to expand the program offerings that we have to be, more nature-based, art, active and passive play, and adaptive programs. And we also have some new programs that we introduced this past year. One of them was the Texas Youth Hunting Program. That was really successful. We also had a Toddlers on the Trail and Senior Bunko. We've also successfully reintroduced some annual events such as the Christmas on the Square and the Parade of Lights, as well as the 75th anniversary of Riverside Stadium, Cinco de Mayo, and the 4th of July, which we're excited about this upcoming week. The Parks Division, some of the highlights for them, we've established an operations plan for routine, preventative, and annual maintenance. We continue to support the community partners such as the Texas Zoo, the Golden Crescent Disc Golf Club, and Main Street, just by providing assistance with projects and equipment. And then we have developed and implemented a larvicide program for the mosquito abatement. And then, of course, sports tourism. We were able to successfully host the first TAF Winter Games of Texas with over 1,100 athletes. And we were able to hire a sports tourism manager, Ms. Michelle Myers. And then she's been working and has created a sports tourism branding for the city of Victoria. And getting into some of the data, of course, FY, so I apologize, there's the blue here is going to be our hosted events that we have through Parks and Recreation. The lighter blue is partner programs that we have, and then community events. So all of those have been on a rise. So our events and our programs and leagues are taking off, and we're continuing to move forward with those and enhancing those programs. The chart on the right-hand side is the sports facility and pavilion rentals. The darker green can see is the gazebo and pavilion rentals that we've had, and then the lighter green is the sports facility rentals. Maybe a little bit, throw you off a little bit. 2021 to 2022, it looks like there's a reduction, but our big time is summertime, and so that's where we're currently at right now. So we are looking at trying to continue to hit that mark that we had last year of 902 total rentals. Some department efficiencies. We've combined the park superintendent position and the recreation services manager positions to a Parks and Recreation superintendent, and then thus creating an opportunity for us to have a sports tourism manager on board. And then we implemented some new recreation software program to include the community center and the RV park, really just allowing better management of leagues, additional metrics that we're able to capture, and just literally having everybody on the same page and the same type of software. As before, it was community center was on a different software program and Parks and Recreation was on a separate one. Our new programs and initiatives that we're looking forward to in this upcoming year is we're looking to update the children's playground at Riverside Park to be more inclusive. We're working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and some community members to make that more handicap accessible and to really, update the children's playground. We also are working to increase Victoria's presence in the sports tourism industry, host a successful second year of the Winter Games of Texas, host additional sports tournaments and events such as the American Junior Golf Association over at Riverside Golf Course, and then continue to expand our recreational offerings to the teens, seniors, and those with disabilities. Our fiscal year 2023 budget highlights. The budget request this year equals $3,920,933, an increase of $608,539 or 18.4% compared to last fiscal year adopted budget of $3,312,394. The fiscal 23 budget includes a $928,000 one-time expense and $2,992,863 in reoccurring expenses, which is an increase of 1.3% from last year's $2.9 million budget. Our personnel increase is due to $17,000 roughly in baseline adjustments. And as I mentioned, the part-time administrative assistant moving to a full-time administrative assistant of $27,911, which would take place in January, hopefully, of this upcoming year. We also have $6,830 for Phase 3 of the compensation plan. Our one-time expenses total $928,000, roughly, $928,070, which is an increase of $571,000 or 160.2% compared to last fiscal year of $356,700. The increase in this one-time expense primarily is the Riverside Duck Pond renovation project, also the renovation of the children's playground in Riverside Park, sidewalk enhancements that have been outlined in the master plan for 4 different parks that we have throughout the community, and a facilities assessment that would include the golf course, community center, and ball field facilities. In addition to that, the purchase of a wood chipper and a new tractor. The facilities assessment.
Question on that.
Yes, sir.
How do you already know the brand of the tractor if the budget's not approved?
Well, that's where we got the numbers from. That was from New Holland, and when we put in the
So we
funding
would go
it,
out
it
for
was through
quotes
New
for
Holland.
that? Or is it off of buy board?
Yeah, we normally get those from Buy Board. I don't know if it's Buy Board itself or something similar to that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you haven't gone out to buy board yet, just for,
Yeah, that's just what the quotes were at.
Right. Yes, sir.
We do the exact same thing for everything else, right? We base our budget estimate based off of quotes that we get from existing folks just to get a number in there.
but we go back out for quotes and.
Yeah, or go to a Buy
After
Board type
October
of
1st.
mechanism, right?
Right, October 1st, we go back out and look and see what we can get.
Right.
Okay.
You're thinking that should just say
Tractor.
tractor?
Yes, a new tractor.
Noted.
And we're supposed to know what kind of tractor that is in terms of how big it is or what it does.
It's a really big tractor.
Thinking,
Big green tractor.
Right? And then the maintenance and operations expenses total $1,206,649, which is a decrease of $20,494 or 1.7% compared to last fiscal year, which adopted budget of $1,227,143. Primarily, the reductions in that were from contract labor and equipment replacement charges. Just want to take a quick second to note some of the larger expense changes that we have here. So personnel costs under the maintenance, we have a variance of $26,000. Some of that, and also the supplies, you'll notice that was a reduction in $22,000. Really just trying to get the park amenities into the right account. So for instance, with the supplies, we had historically had benches and tables and barbecue pits in there, and that's not necessarily a supplies line item, that's more of a maintenance thing. So we adjusted that to reflect the right account. And then we are also budgeting for sport court refurbishing of the play area. So we want to make sure that we get onto a cycle with that. We also have some, I'll just go down to the one time. There we go. It shows it all here. So we do have the professional services at $50,000. That would be for the facilities assessment plan, which would really be looking at the functionality and the feasibility of all the facilities that we do have. Again, the golf course, and the baseball fields, and give us an idea of where we need to focus our efforts on. That was also identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan as well. Another one was a capital replacement at $59,500. And that one was for, that was the variance. We have $37,000 in there. That would be for the tractor that we were looking to potentially purchase. And then if we go down to land, that was land acquisition for $20,000. We aren't planning on acquiring any new land for the parks. So that's out of there. And then we have $802,000, I apologize, for the other structures, which would be the Riverside Park Playground, Duck Pond, and the sidewalk enhancements.
And of those three, out of that 802, do you have a breakdown on what each of those projects is?
Sure. So,
I just don't see it here on the screen.
yes, sir. So the Riverside Park Playground, we have estimated at $375,000. The Duck Pond, we have set at $403,325. And the master plan sidewalk enhancements is $23,700.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we did half for the duck pond this year and half next year.
Right, so this would be for the Phase 2 aspect of Duck Park. So we do, I believe, next month,
Yes.
expect to bring forward the awarding of the contract for the Duck Pond for Phase 1. And so this funding would be for a change order that we intend to intentionally take on in the fall in order to add Phase 2 to it. And we just had to split it up that way just to make the money work.
With that, we do have, wanted to show you the FTEs, again, going from 30 to 31 with the transition of part-time to full-time administrative assistant. And with that, I'll leave you with this picture. Riverside Stadium. Had to get CMO in there.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'll be happy to answer
Mike and
any
Derek
questions.
didn't get the shorts memo.
Nope, thank you. I don't have any further questions. So let's go to Mr. Alfaro for the community center now.
and he's going to start with that picture.
All right. So the community center is obviously underneath the Parks and Recreation Department, but it does offer the community event space for small and large gatherings and events. We have started to utilize the community center for additional recreation programs, events, and tournaments, and we continue to maintain the facility at a high standard to attract additional events, tournaments, large gatherings for the community to enjoy. The organizational chart, again, everything that's in blue is the community center. So we have the manager and, of course, sports tourism being funded heavily out of that is also identified in this organization chart. We have a picture of the awesome team that we have over at the community center and a great event that we had just to the right-hand side of that team picture. The department mission is to improve the quality of life for Victoria citizens by providing a facility and service that will open opportunities for events, programs, education, and community involvement. Our goals and objectives are to continue utilizing the community center during the weekday to conduct recreation programs and leagues for the community, complete the installation of the new dome chiller system and the design of the heaters for the dome. The dome chillers are like a 16-week lead time, so it's been a while. The intentional and also intentionally seeking large sporting events and working closely with sports tourism manager, and then continuing to provide a clean customer service focused facility for the community. Some of the highlights, we have successfully hosted multiple large-scale events without any issues related to COVID. And then we have designed the HVAC system that had been started, a contract was awarded, and we're just waiting on the chillers to come in and have that project completed.
So we really don't have heat in the dome, right?
That is correct. We have temporary heat now. We have installed some temporary heating elements to help combat that.
Okay. And then we're just gonna design it next year? Is that because of budget?
We are currently working with M&S Engineering for the design of the heating system. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Part of it is budget. Part of it is what I talked about yesterday about needing to change our policy around how we use and expend hot funds. So combination of both.
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one complaint that I get during the winter.
Right.
It's cold.
We did just throw out an option, right? I mean, we know, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the quote that we had received to fully
Thank you.
redesign and redo the system in there to provide adequate heat was close to $1 million.
Yes, sir.
And so that's a lot of cash, obviously. So we couldn't put it into the budget for next year. We're gonna have to just rethink how we want to do that. One of the things that I don't know if you already hit on it or you're gonna hit on it, but we do intend on going through an assessment of our sports-related facilities, which we've included the community center in that, which is different than the Parks Master Plan and different than our facility master plan that we're going through. We intentionally left some of these parks facilities like the ball fields, the community center, the golf course, sort of off those lists because there's better subject matter experts in the field that could look at those buildings from the perspective of recreation, sports tourism, et cetera. So part of it, we thought, well, maybe we ought to wait until maybe the building goes through that study to determine whether it's worth spending the $1 million, or maybe there's another recommendation that comes where we can have a conversation about where can we get the greatest bang for our buck if we did have $1 million to spend on the community center. So we thought buying ourselves some time and delaying that might help that conversation. There's also the opportunity to have a conversation around ARPA. We did use some ARPA funds for facilities. And so, if this elevates, the level of priority elevates, to address this issue at the community center, we could theoretically just have a conversation around the money that we've allocated for ARPA and theoretically try and apply some funds from ARPA towards it. So there are some options out there if this elevates to a high level of priority for y'all.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not saying that I know everything that goes on in the city, but has it always not had heat, or is this something related to the hurricane, or what? Why is there no heat?
I believe it's, there was some elements, I believe that I don't think it did have heat, right, Roger? Roger can speak to that a little better than
I'll
I.
try to fill in. So the system that's in there now is just cold air. There was no heat installed at the time that system was put in. I think there was an intention of a boiler, and prior to the current system that's in there was a boiler for hot water, but this current system does not have that. There was one electric strip heater in a duct that feeds the dome, but it has since expired. So right now, all we have is cold air. July 6th, we have our Phase 2 construction design meeting with M&S, in which we're going to make a third attempt to try to fit some new air handlers with heat into the dome. So we've been really working on it steadily with them, and they're bringing us some good stuff. We just haven't quite gotten to the bottom of how we want to approach that yet.
Can you
But we know
please-
funding's going to be an issue, though.
Yes,
Can you please loop me into that design process?
absolutely.
Thank you. So what he said was it was super old, right? What is- Let's see. Oh, down to the performance metrics. So here on the performance metrics, we have fiscal year 2021 and 2022. You can see what I think was interesting in this that I wanted to highlight is the amount of opportunities that we've been able to take, having the city actually utilize this community center a little bit more specifically throughout the entire work week, Monday through Thursday. So you can see in 2019, the city rentals that we had were 51 versus this fiscal year where we're at 85. So we are utilizing the community center more, both internally and trying to continue to bring in outside events to the community center. On departmental efficiencies, we've helped develop a cross-training program to help with the cleaning and the maintenance of the equipment and the facility itself. And then, of course, the updated HVAC system in the dome that will actually allow for better regulation and control, creating a greater electrical and equipment efficiency. Some new programs and initiatives that we're working on for this upcoming year. We do want to work closely and continue to work closely with the Emergency Operations Center to establish action plans related to large-scale events that we have there. Work with the Parks and Recreation Department to utilize the new recreation software that I mentioned earlier. Work with the Human Resources Department to increase cross-training for the Community Center and Parks and Recreation team. And then assist the Sports Tourism Manager in securing future local and regional events for the community center. The community center fiscal year 23 budget request equals $738,996, which is a decrease of $253,762 or 25.6% compared to last fiscal adopted budget of $992,758. The FY23 budget includes $46,860 in one-time expenses and $692,136 in recurring expenses, which is an increase of $41,378 or 6.4% from last year's recurring budget. In personnel, there was a decrease of $4 due to baseline adjustments to make sure that we capture every dollar that we spend and save. One-time expenses total $46,860, which is a decrease of $295,140 or 86.3% compared to last fiscal year. The decrease was due to the chiller installation in the dome that took place this year. The remaining funds would include building improvements, which would also include an outdoor wash rack and the replacement of 3 sinks in the dome lobby restroom. And then maintenance and operation expenses total $258,999, which is a decrease of $1,897, just under 1%, which is the largest decrease in that category was building service charges. And we just were looking at the historical data usage that we had from that, so we reduced that line item. Let's see. The maintenance, the $10,000 maintenance was the increase for the new recreation software system that I had mentioned. The other charges that you see here, reduction of 15.2%, it's only $300, but that was for the mileage reimbursement, or increase, I'm sorry, for mileage reimbursement. The interdepartmental was reduced by 11.5%. That was a decrease in the building service charges that I just mentioned to you as well. And then under one-time expenses, we're trying to be more proactive in how we change out some of our some of our tables and our chairs. And in addition to that, we are looking at, again, the replacement of the 3 sinks and an outdoor wash rack to help with livestock, basically, and washing those off and making sure that they go into an appropriate drainage area. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Oh, I apologize. There's the
And you
full-time
said
employees.
something about tables and chairs. Were we on some type of a schedule?
We had not been, but we are trying to get to that. So we have budgeted for, 1 to 2 racks of one rack of chairs, which is 60 chairs. And the same thing with our rectangular tables and round tables. Those have a life expectancy of roughly 5 years, good, as long as people take care of them. But we do want to be more proactive with that rotation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, no other questions? We'll go to Mr. Alfaro for golf. Good
This
job.
is
You're
it.
you're making up time from that first presentation.
I'm trying, sir. I knew that would be the bulk of it. So the Riverside Golf Course is proud to offer the only public golf course in Victoria. It is an 18-hole, 6,579-yard par 72 arrangement that relives the original 1945 Ralph Farmer design. There, in the organization chart, there was a reorg. The head golf professional now kind of oversees the entire operation. The superintendent had left, and so we wanted to make an efficiency in that area. And with that, we are looking at having a clubhouse supervisor that would help the golf course professional with tournaments and give him the ability to work on youth development programs as well. The department mission of Riverside Golf Course is to provide an enjoyable, well-conditioned course to complement Riverside Park and enrich the recreation opportunities available to the community, thus enhancing the livability for our citizens and visitors. We have a picture of our awesome maintenance team with a couple of them not in the picture, Rolando because he was taking it, and another one because they were out on vacation. Some of our goals and objectives, we wanted to maintain a competitive fee structure to maximize membership and customer retention. Increase annual pass membership by 25 members, but continue to limit the level of pass holders that we have. Also, continue to increase the tournament rounds and events at Riverside Golf Course. We are looking at improved tee areas, practice area to include the bunker and the turf tee line, and add landscaping and additional color around the clubhouse and throughout the course. Our 2022 highlights, some of them are split irrigation heads on all 18 greens. That allows for a better controlled watering system year-round. We did add the 20 golf carts to our current fleet, allowing for more daily rounds and expanded tournament play. And then, of course, the GPS, and it sounds like we'll be able to go live with that here in the next week or so. But we are adding the GPS to the cart fleet to assist with the pace of play and course conditions by limiting the access to that the golf carts have with that. In addition to that, we've updated the on-course restrooms and improved the 1st and 10th tee cart path with new asphalt, thanks to the assistance of Public Works. Just some quick performance metrics for you. We are looking at continuing to increase our rounds that we have. So, there we go. So in fiscal year 2022, we're looking at a total of 31,175 rounds and a projected fiscal year 23 at 32,940 rounds. Some department efficiencies. We have enhanced the watering efficiency, as I mentioned earlier, to control the irrigation heads throughout the 18 greens. We added the GPS cart to assist with the pace of play, and that pace of play also helps with more rounds of golf. Some new programs and initiatives that we're looking at is, as we have historically every other year, increasing the daily fees by $2 across the board, which also increases the annual pass membership. We are looking at increasing the total number of the annual pass holder members by 25, but still having a hold on the reserve of at least 60. enhancing the practice area through addition of bunker and artificial turf hitting areas, and improve tee areas throughout the course to provide an additional hitting area. Some of the budget highlights for Riverside Golf Course. The 23 budget request equals $1,259,603, which is an increase of $163,771 or 14.9% compared to last adopted budget of $1,095,832. This includes $86,055 in one-time expenses and $1,173,548 in recurring expenses, which is an increase of $89,106 or 8.2% from last year's recurring budget. The personnel increase is due to $468 in baseline adjustments and $34,971 in the addition of the clubhouse supervisor, which again, we're looking at holding that back until January of 2023. Our one-time expenses include, total $86,055, which is an increase of $74,665 or 655% compared to last fiscal year of $11,390. The increase in the one-time expense includes a tee box expansion due to the duck pond renovations and an expansion of the driving range, in addition to a handful of water cooler cabinets for the golf course. Maintenance and operation expenses total $580,830, which is an increase of $53,667 or 10.2% compared to last fiscal year of $527,163. The increase in maintenance and operations includes the rising cost of goods. That's a large one. And the renewal of the maintenance equipment lease agreement, the renewal of the 50 golf carts, which is at the end of its life cycle, and the addition of the GPS. The big one, I guess, a couple to look at is the contractual services, a variance of $27,000. That is for the equipment and machinery rental. Majority of that's the new golf cart fleet, the 50 carts, which obviously have gone up in price per month from the last lease agreement that we had. And then also some bank merchant charges. I wanted to make sure that we capture that correctly, which are our credit card transactions. So more credit card transactions, more cost to us, but that means that we're having more play. And then the one-time expenses that we have, again, the biggest one is the tee box expansion. That's close to $70,000. That's to really to move tee boxes for hole number 9 because of the duck pond, the way the arrangement is on phase 2, and being able to include the cart path as a trail system, a driving range expansion, and then water cooler cabinets.
I don't want to hit anybody when I'm teeing off, walking around the duck pond.
And that's all I have for the golf course, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
What about the income?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I missed that. There we go. So our projections that we have for last fiscal year, or this current one, is $1,268,000. $268,966. And then for next year, we are projecting a $1.3 million revenue. So, did we have the expense versus the revenues? No. And if I go up to this projection of the expenses, we're looking at 1.138 for this fiscal year compared to the 1.268. And then the revenues for next year projected at 1.378 versus a 1.259.
And on this, when we have an excess in revenue like that, is there any code for capital needs that we're holding money and know that we're already budgeting for, greens?
Right.
Are we budgeting for cart replacement? Are we budgeting for future New Holland tractors?
Yeah, can you show us a fund balance, something that shows a fund balance?
That's literally what Gilbert just handed me. And so with the proposed budget, the proposed or estimated fund balance at the end of fiscal year 23 would be $890,000. Currently, at the end of this year, it's projected to be 933. 771.
We're gonna lose money?
No, 771.
No, 771 is the projected at the end of this fiscal year. And then at the end of next fiscal year, after these expenses, it's projected to jump up to $890,000.
Oh, okay.
So we're making ground on the fund balance, if that's the question.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because when we agreed to take over the golf course, we had said we'd love to do it, but it has to be almost like an enterprise fund.
Right, and we certainly approach it that way. And
Yes, I know.
That's why when we were having conversations around GPS and some of these improvements, it forced us to have a conversation around the fees, because we wanted to make sure that all of this would pay for itself. And we realized when we went through that exercise that we were sort of on this cycle, if you will, of addressing the fees every 2 years. And so that cycle would hit in January of 2023. And that's why we did what we did, or proposing to do what we were proposing to do. In our mind, obviously the fees should increase, right, as the product gets better, as the services that come with the golf course get better. And so we're trying to be mindful of finding that balance of still being the sort of the most affordable option in town, and accessible, obviously, but at the same time, you know, matching that with the increased level of technology and service that we've been providing.
Now, you said you were gonna assess the park facilities, you're gonna assess the golf course. So will you know what capital items you need to fix in the future? So you can plan with this,
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that is correct.
that's
Correct.
the object of it?
Yes, sir.
correct. And it'll look at the clubhouse, right, storage sheds, you know, it'll
Right.
look at everything, right?
And where are we currently on the fees for the annual pass and the daily green fee? I saw it was going up $2, but I don't know how much it is, right?
Going up $2 across the board, yes, sir. So currently, we're at $37. We'll be looking at increasing to $39 for weekday regular play.
That green fee only?
That would be riding, walking is $29 proposed, so that would be $27.
And what's the
So the 30
annual
number
pass?
includes the cart.
Correct.
And what's the annual pass?
Annual pass?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Annual pass, the previous fee was, for non-senior, was $1,872. We would be proposing $1,944. Right. And we would, with the annual pass, again, that would go through $72 across the board. Senior with cart shed, or non-senior with cart shed.
And how do we line up with other golf courses in the area? Recognizing that they're private,
Right.
but they do allow some outside rounds. How do we fall out so that we're not undercutting with annual memberships?
Right. Yeah, and we had
I'm pulling it up right now.
Rolando look into that before we
Couple years
started.
ago?
I'm sorry?
We looked at it a couple years ago. I know.
Yeah, we looked at it in-house like
Yeah.
5 months ago.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
pulled up the Excel you had sent on it. Do you need to see it? No, I don't. Sorry, cool guy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so based off of kind of what we're seeing as far as guest fees at the clubs here in town, they're doing $50 to $60 during the week, and then $60 to anywhere up to $85.
Plus cart.
Even with plus golf cart, yes, sir.
Plus a golf cart.
Plus a golf cart. So I want to say Country Club does like maybe 17 or 16 bucks for a golf cart. So it would be in addition to those. Definitely a great value over at Riverside, but we want to make sure that value stays along with the product. So we don't want to outprice any of our community. We want everybody to be able to play. So we kind of missed one of them. The $39 rate would be during the week. Our $49 would be what we charge on the weekend, including a golf cart. And then our memberships will range anywhere from $17.28 currently for senior pass up to $2072 or $2184. I'm sorry, $2112 is what we're currently at. Moving to $2184 would be our most expensive, and that includes one of our cart sheds or renting one of the cart sheds. So definitely a good stretch, a good range, but feel like it's a very good value for our community and the members that we do have, and then the guests that are playing.
Yeah, and in case you're wondering, his report also looked at even some of the other public golf courses in the region. So for example, Rockport, well, that's not a public, but
That's a country club.
but you know, think of the 9-hole golf courses that are close by, right? Whether it's Cuero, Goliad, Gonzalez, Yoakum, Edna, El Campo. You know, all of those are practically either in the lower 40s or higher 30s, and they're 9-hole golf courses.
Correct.
And so we're right in line with them, even though we're in 18.
I know, but my whole point, and we've had this conversation before, is right, we want to offer a quality product at an affordable price without being a big detriment to private industry, because it's not government's role to, you know, run all the golf or whatever the product may be. I'm just trying to make sure we're mindful of it, and it sounds like y'all have taken it into account when y'all looked at this year.
Yeah, and if council, would like for us to, reassess and look at increasing them even more, I mean, we're happy to do that.
We can, but I mean, it doesn't have to be just right in line with this. I know y'all looked at it within the last 5 months.
Well, I think it's important to find the assessment of the capital needs in the future, and then you can determine if you need to raise it or whatever.
Right. For now, happy to share this comparison data with y'all, if
Yeah,
you'd like.
that's great.
Okay.
Because we don't have some expenses that other courses do. Other courses have property taxes.
Right.
So,
Well, and other courses, have full kitchen operations, larger facilities, event venues, event space, et cetera. That all that is just overhead, right?
but separate is the golf budget.
Correct.
On those. I'm just saying, when we're looking at our expenses, we're still not apples to apples on expenses because of property taxes. So, just want to make sure we're being fair across the board.
We could always add an expense for in lieu of property tax and pay that to the general fund.
That sounds good.
I don't know, Rolando just cut his eyes at you. No, great. Thank y'all. Appreciate the information.
All right, so next up is the library. Dana can't be with us this evening, so Assistant Director Jessica Berger will spearhead this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the library's preliminary budget. Start with the department description. The library is a community connection gathering place. We offer a variety of materials and services and the opportunity to gather and learn together. Our programming is geared for all ages as we provide something for everyone, from early literacy with our story times to exposure to arts and music through our craft and live music events. Our building provides access to technology and Wi-Fi with meeting and conversation spaces for tutoring, connecting, sharing new ideas, and we do consider ourselves a downtown hub as we bring customers and traffic to the downtown area. This is our organizational chart, and I will drill down a little bit more and talk about it, some changes that we've made this past year. But as you can see, this is how we divide our departments within the library. On the left side of the screen, you'll see 22 of the 25 full-time staff. Because we're open nights and Saturdays, it's very hard to get all 25 employees in the building at one time. So 22 out of 25 isn't bad. On the right side, you'll see one of our Access Services members. The Access Services is in charge of our service desk, which is checking in, checking out materials, and our collection organization. And that is when items get checked in or checked out, things have to get put back on the shelves correctly, so you know where they are, and she is part of that team. The library's mission is to bring people, information, and ideas together to enrich lives and build community. Our goals and objectives for the last several years, and we're very proud of them, are provide materials and services to satisfy curiosity, encourage the love of reading through literacy, develop programs that allow our community members to express creativity, and utilize technology to support access to job readiness training. We do develop library programs and services that improve the quality of life, which is a goal of the City of Victoria's comprehensive plan. Some of our highlights for 2022 and we're just in the month of June, but we're excited about our library strategic plan development and community survey as we just finished wrapping up our survey. New programs that we've introduced this year is the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten and our sensory story times. We focus on digital literacy training and partnerships with Goodwill Industries and provide computer classes with focus on job readiness. As you can see in the picture on the right, that is a Goodwill employee, and he is helping one of the Victoria citizens with her digital literacy. We are continuing and we're seeing growth in our outreach services to our seniors, including homebound materials and deliveries. As we started off with 10 to 15, now we're up to 30 deliveries. And with our crafts to seniors, we started with about 10 and we're up to 45 deliveries of homebound services. I want to highlight some of the foot traffic. As you can see from 2020 to now, the 2022 is capturing up to May. And as you can see, we are planning to exceed what we've seen the last 2 years. So we don't think we will be pre-pandemic numbers by the end of the year, but we hope to see a significant change as people are coming in to use the library more. As we are hearing from people saying, I'm back, I haven't been here in a few years, but I'm back.
What was the physical 2019 people entering the building number?
2019? Mm-hmm. That is a good question. I do not have that with me right now, and I can get back.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
To get a feel for the pre-pandemic number.
Yeah, pre-pandemic number. We were shut down for a number of months in 20.
Yeah, I should have had that. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I come up with weird questions.
But, okay, we will get that to you. But again, as you can see, this is a capture of May of this year, and we are already getting very close to exceeding the number from the last 2 years. I want to shift focus now to our number of items that are being checked out. The bottom is the physical materials, and the top is our e-materials. As you can see, we are closely monitoring the e-material checkouts in that we went from an estimation of 3,300 to 40,000, and then we're at 44,000 right now. And that checkout number, 44,000, is just of May of this year. So we are seeing the trend of e-materials, the collection just being used just a lot. These are the physical material numbers, and they do exceed our e-checkout, but again, we are monitoring the trend because we see that it's growing and the community is using e-digital content. As you can see, the cardholder numbers, we are slowly growing. We hope to identify a target number, but right now we are just identifying that we have 43,143 cardholders in the community right now. And
How many of those are City of Victoria residents?
There is a slight, there's about a $4,000 difference, 4,000 count difference in that we just removed some e-cards. But as of right now, we have 21,762 city cardholder numbers, and we have 7,455 county card numbers. Is that the question you asked? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that doesn't add up.
It doesn't.
It's because you gotta add the 4,000 that she said that they pulled out.
Still doesn't add up.
That doesn't add up.
Um,
But it's about 2/3 in the
Right.
city, 1/3 out of the city limits.
Keep in mind, we also have folks that are outside the county. We also, when we were trying to divide and come up with these numbers, it was also very difficult at times to determine whether somebody was city or county because the address was a PO box or it wasn't specific so we're working on trying to be more exact with that data.
Yes, the PO box proved to be tricky in that we didn't know where to place them. So there is some areas that are a little gray, but those are the hard numbers that we know for sure. for sure was that the 21,762 city addresses and 7,455 county addresses.
And I've forgotten, is there a charge if you are neither city nor county?
Yes, ma'am, there's a $30 annual fee.
But that is out of state.
Right, that, so.
So we are
some of those
working,
numbers-
we're working on trying to develop a tiered system that would have a fee for outside of county.
Oh, so that's just out of state.
Correct,
Winter Texan.
correct.
So if somebody's from Karnes County, they could get a library card
Yes,
at
ma'am.
no charge?
But
Any-
there are restrictions on what they have access to, though.
Okay,
So for example, I'm sorry, I'm taking this from you. But as an example, only our county residents have access to e-materials. As an example. So outside of county folks, even though they're not paying anything, they're not having access to our e-materials. They would have to physically come in and just access physical materials. So there's only the folks in our county, since that's the community we serve, have the full access to all resources that the library has to offer.
And if you do have a Texas driver's license, you can get a library card with the library. It's just limited access. But yes, you can get a library card with us.
I mean, those two thoughts are kind of counter to each other. E-materials are easily disseminated and easily brought back. And so from the current trend of our country to make everything be electronic and it doesn't matter where you are, that doesn't necessarily make sense, but for the library to be self-supporting or to not be losing money and providing things for free to folks outside, I understand why you're doing that, but I don't know if that's a possible revenue source, if some of those materials could be available at a charge or something like that.
It would be difficult because typically all of these e-subscription services, what they charge us is based off of the population that we serve. So if all of a sudden we say that, we're gonna have access to all state residents, to our e-materials, then what we're gonna get charged by all these companies is just gonna grow, right? And so it's cost prohibitive for us to do that. Now, I don't know why we would want to do that because ultimately, our priority population we serve is our county, right? So somebody from a separate county, that's sort of not our problem, if you will, to ensure that they have access to digital services. But it comes into play when somebody's, visiting a family member in town or a Winter Texan that comes in, or whatever, where they're physically going to be here. Well, then it makes sense for them to get a library card and then just access the physical books if they're here for a month visiting a family member, or whatever, right? But does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and that, talking about the cost and the subscription makes the policy make sense. And so now go back to the Winter Texan, they can get a Victoria City Library card
And get
with access?
limited checkouts to our physical materials.
Same.
Okay, so they.
But we do charge them.
Say again?
We do charge them because they're out of state typically.
Okay, all right.
One
Sounds
question-
like it's been thought through.
One question I had, does a library card expire? I mean, if I get a card and I haven't used it for 5 years or something, I mean, am I still considered a card holder in your stats?
They are on a 2-year rotation, so
Okay.
if the account has been inactive within 2 years, it just stays in the system.
So for 2 years, it does, but then it stays in the system for 5 years.
So it stays in the system five more years, and if you come in within that time, you just update your information, and then we just set it for 2 more years.
Okay, so are these numbers the people that are within the 2-year or 5-year?
Yes,
Okay,
these are active members.
active members, so that's
Yes.
the 2 years.
Yes.
They changed their program, so I went in with my old card and it didn't work anymore because it didn't have the right numbers. That may have been a while, but,
Yes, if you don't come in within the five-year window, there is a cleaning out system. So yes, you just have to come in and sign up again. But a lot can happen in 2 years, so that we have, for that reason, just to update contact information.
That makes sense.
I would like to just identify some department efficiencies. This past year, we had a retirement. And with the retirement, we had the opportunity to look at our processes and see where there was some opportunity for some improvements. We recognized early on that technical services, which is the team that process the items and gets them ready for the shelves, and access services, which is our collection organization, they worked very closely together hand in hand, which their duties kind of intertwine. So we were able to combine them to where they report to the same manager. With that process, they were able to, it was more efficient. And what was interesting was that once we put them together and they started to understand what each other did, there's been cross-training. And now items are getting put on the shelves quicker because now the two teams work together to get things from the boxes, from vendors, onto the shelves. And also with that, we were able to move technical services, which are the people that get the items ready for the shelves, downstairs. Some of y'all might not know that we have an upstairs and downstairs. So technical services before, we would load the boxes of books in the dumbwaiter, send them upstairs to get processed. Once they were done, they would come back downstairs to access services. We physically moved the entire team to work together downstairs with access services and not have the safety issues and things of unloading boxes upstairs and downstairs. And again, that provided some efficiency and cohesion, and the teams are working very well together. And our youth program department was downstairs and adult programming was upstairs. Now we've been able to combine both teams, and they work very well together upstairs to provide those big projects and big programs that we do offer at the library. We also modified our meeting room spaces. We have 3 meeting rooms and a computer lab, and we purchased a software that has been able to reduce staff time with filling in reservations and managing the meeting room calendar. If you've been to the library, you know that our meeting rooms get used quite often. If they're not used every day by just our departments, they're used by city departments and outside organizations, 2-3 times a day sometimes. So this has helped with alleviate some of that work with trying to schedule those things. Some new initiatives and programs that we're excited about in 2023 is the implementation of the consultant's findings to develop the library's next strategic plan. This is the time I want to thank you all for the opportunity, just for the time that you gave Maureen Arndt, our library building consultant, the time to provide information and feedback to her. So thank you for that. We hope to continue working closely with CVB and Main Street program to continue to make the library a downtown and tourist destination. And we hope to grow our foundation support through our library development and partnership coordinator position that we just filled this year. What we found out with the pandemic was there's a lot more community engagement and community partnerships that we've been doing, and we can't wait to grow those relationships with this new position. Some budget highlights that I would like to just briefly go over, turning again from operations to budget. You will see a $21,000 increase in electronic subscriptions to provide access to more digital content. As I showed in that previous slide with the bar graph of the trends of, more e-materials being used, we are just shifting and potentially shifting some funds to add more to the collection. You will see a decrease of $12,200 to our book line budget, which is part of that $21,000 increase. And again, it's just shifting from physical materials to e-content.
And we've been trending in that direction the last couple of years, where we've slowly but surely increased the amount of money onto the electronics and decreasing the amount of physical books, just because that's what the demand is showing.
You'll see a $4,000 decrease to our magazines and newspaper subscription. And you will see a $45,000 increase for charges for IT support, and I want to thank James for that. Again, I am. So you will see the overall budget, you will see a 0.4% increase total from last year's.
Did you say that the demand for ebooks is
Increasing
increasing more than the demand for,
physical books. Correct.
okay, I think
And consequently, we've been adjusting the budget accordingly, investing more in digital, less in physical books.
I think I misheard something maybe in the conversation last week with the consultant. I didn't think that was the trend, and so that kind of makes more sense. But, yeah, I thought that the ebook demand was not growing that much, that it's there, but I didn't think it was growing exponentially or growing faster.
Well,
So-
you know, right now, again, the stats captured of May, we're at 44, almost 45,000 checkouts for 5 months. And we're just seeing the trends in over the past years, and it just continues to grow. Our community still checks out a majority of physical materials, but e-content, it's growing, and it continues to grow.
So are you done?
Yes, sir.
In past budget cycles, we've talked about Wi-Fi hotspots. And council gave the direction that they didn't want that program at the library. Did that program end?
No, sir. Right now, we still have hotspots in circulation.
How many?
Right now, we have 12 that were the initially bought with that funding, the grant funding.
Right. So the first time it came, or when it came up, council was okay with the grant-funded mobile hotspots. When it came back up for us to increase the number of mobile hotspots, we did not increase the number of mobile hotspots because of the direction we received from council. But we still kept the ones that we purchased through the grant, which was the first year it came up.
And did we make the policy change on how long you can take one out?
Sure, 3 days.
Because it was 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 week. 1 week. It was 3 week checkout, and now it's 1 week.
Okay.
And because there's credits to the hotspots, that's why we're able to still have grant funding to support the data.
Okay.
And from my understanding, you know, if you want to get a sense of the demand, we have a wait list for those too. And I think there's close to 25 to 30 people that are on those wait lists for those hotspots at any one given time.
There's always up 20, if not over, and the people that come to use it for the 7 days, because our schedule's very strict, we will turn off the data after the 8th day. So they value the program in that when they come in, they immediately get back on the waiting list.
And we don't allow streaming content?
I don't think we were able to figure out limiting, we did look into that.
But there is filtering on them. So there's a built-in filtering system to it.
Right, but effectively you can get on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu.
Theoretically, yes. Just how you could check out a movie too, or a video game.
And I'm not a fan of those either. I mean, who has something to play on a movie with?
Yeah, I don't know, right? Yeah.
All right, thank you.
It's, maybe they're super old, I don't know.
That would be the case because I have something to play a movie with.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to briefly show our full-time employees. We went from, in 2021, we had 27 full-time employees. We are now at 25. We eliminated a library aide and library clerk position. You'll see a high-level description of each position at the library, but you will see that the library assistants, we have 16 of them, and they are divided within those departments of that organization chart.
One of the things that we're looking at that will probably be one of the first things that hits once we go through the strategic plan that may or may not go into effect at some point next fiscal year is the hours of the library. So that's something to keep an eye on. So just a heads up, we're looking at the possibility of increasing the hours of operation of the library.
Could you scroll back up to the revenue?
I'm sorry, what
I
was
think
that?
it was revenue from fees. Did I see that? Yeah, there it is, or charges for services.
Is-
And are
is-
these charges for services, how much of that is, say, the meeting rooms and that sort of thing versus other services?
As of right now, we do not charge for meeting room rentals, and in that if they are a free or open to the public meeting, they can be held there. But if it's anything that's a private or you need to, it's for profit, that is not part of our policy and cannot be used for those reasons.
Okay, so there's no private use, it's only for public meetings?
Yes, and people do use the room for tutoring and studying, and they just know that if somebody would walk in and want to sit in there, they could, but
Yeah.
doesn't.
These charges are for overdue materials.
Okay, okay, that's what I was trying to get at, what made up these numbers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome.
And I just want to close out with a picture of our library staff. There's on the left, you'll see a collection management organization putting the books back on the shelf where they belong. You will see that one of our youth programming people is prepping a craft. Right now, we are in the peak of summertime, so our traffic is very high. And our programs, all of our craft programs have exceeded 150 or more,
Excellent.
every one that we offer.
Great, thank you.
And then we are known to be shushers, but we are not shushers. But again, we were just playing on that. Y'all have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
The mayor
for
is,
coming
though. All right, so moving on, CVB, Joel.
All right. Clicker Jones. Oh, just move the mouse. All right. Council, Mayor, thank you for your time this evening. I'm going to give you an overview of our department and our budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So just a little bit about the CVB, and just as a note, some of y'all may know that we are going to be coming on 3 years as our own department within the city of Victoria. We were brought into the city in 2011 underneath the communications. It's been a great experience being our own department. And a little bit about the CVB. Just in a nutshell, we help visitors and residents explore Victoria. We are funded by hotel occupancy taxes, and our primary goal is to increase overnight stays in Victoria. We do that by promoting our rich history, outdoor recreation, local attractions and events, which we're proud to say are starting to come back in a really full force after COVID. And since we service sports events and meetings, supports that really leads to measurable economic impact. And there's a lot of exciting movement, especially in our sports tourism market. We play also an important role in helping residents enjoy their own community. We tell them about upcoming events and local experiences. We're really one of the main sources for people to find out what's going on in their own town. This enhances their quality of life and increases the local support for our tourism partners and attractions so they can continue to bring people to Victoria. Our department is a small one, but a dedicated one. And I'll go over some more details later about some reorg that we're looking at. But right now you have the director, who is myself. You have our marketing manager, Nancy Britton, as well as our guest services specialist, Bridget Postel. And we'll also be looking to reorg our current group sales and services position, which is vacant since Kristen Kopecki moved to Main Street and is doing a great job there, an assistant director position. You see our staff right there. You see Bridget on the left, does a wonderful job welcoming guests to the visitor center, myself, and then Nancy, our marketing manager, who handles most of our advertising opportunities. And you see us doing some bird watching over there at the birding deck at the 18 Nature Sanctuary. And yes, those binoculars are free if you want to go out there and get some of those. But our mission, to foster economic development in Victoria by positioning it as one of the premier mid-sized market destinations for leisure travel, meetings, conventions, and sports tournaments through strategic marketing, sales, and destination development. Our goals and objectives, very briefly, is to increase overnight hotel occupancy from leisure travel, impact the Victoria economy through convention, meetings, sports, and group tours, And enhance existing and create additional promotional events, activities, and contests to help engage Victoria residents. You see us there. We partnered with the Dairy Treat grand opening back in March to help enhance that event. So we're not building events from the ground up. We're finding things that people are already doing in the community and making them better and lending a hand to that. And then helping our Victoria tourism partners improve their marketing and operations. It was a very exciting year for us. We did establish our information center at the Victoria Regional Airport Terminal, a project that our airport management is very excited about. We doubled our retailer and participation numbers for our second annual You'll Love Shopping Victoria promotion. Went up to over 40 retailers from a little over 20 to over 60 participants, which produced 730 visits to our local retailers, a really great returns for that promotion. We contributed significantly to the Taft Winter Games. I meet every other week with Michelle Myers, the new sports tourism manager. We work really closely hand in hand to talk about how we can best serve the events that are coming to Victoria and bring new ones to Victoria. We use surveys through our explorevictoriatexas.com website, doing a really good job of tracking hotel room nights and visitors spending, especially associated with sports events. A great find by our marketing manager, Nancy. We participated in the Travel Texas, which is a state travel agency co-op marketing program at no cost to the department. That was funded through some federal COVID relief funds to the state, and then the state allowed DMOs to participate, and we got on board with that, and those activities are currently ongoing right now. We also are looking forward to partnering with the third-party agency to capture Victoria traveler data to make more precise marketing decisions, and then continuing support for different city events like Tunes at Noon, VPL Jams, as well as the downtown art walk events. We did have a grand opening for our birding deck in April, a wonderful event, saw a couple hundred people from the community come out, and then we will be administering the Hot Funds program just starting up in a couple of days here. Applications will open. Some metrics for our department. We had, of course, really great returns, and we've this year projecting, and this number is actually a little low because we've had a really, really great May fueled by some events like the Memorial Weekend Bash. I'm actually thinking we might be able to break our all-time record of 118,000 website visits for this fiscal year. So that number hopefully will be more because we've been doing great in May, and June's looking very solid as well. But just to be conservative, we look to continue that strong website visitation to the explorevictoriatexas.com website. With that, social media marketing is a big way that we reach out to the community and bring people in. We had projecting well over 4 million a reach of 4 million from our Facebook page for this fiscal year, and kind of looking for those same numbers for next fiscal year. Our visitor center visits, we are seeing a rebound, projecting this year for a little over 1,100 visits, and then just looking conservatively for the future, about the same amount in fiscal year 23. And then travel information lead requests. This is still an important part of what we do. These are requests that we receive from either websites or magazine ads to send folks actual physical mail to travel information, which people still ask for. The numbers are a little lower than they were in the past, but it's still an activity that's very valuable, because when you see a traveler like that actually want mailed information, it means they've got quite a bit of interest in coming to your community. So we still continue with that.
On 2019 for
Sure.
visitor center visits, what was that number compared to?
That was pretty high. That was 1,309. So we, of course, did see quite a dip in COVID. April of 2020, we had literally no visitors. And then it was pretty slow going after that. So we are seeing a bit of a rebound from 2019. And we've been seeing good number of groups come in, things like that, traveling groups, seniors. But we're still sort of coming out of COVID with our visitor center numbers.
So one of your top goals you mentioned was hotel night stays, but it's not a metric.
Right. So one of the things that we want to do now, and we could start going forward, at least from our sports events. Sports events are really a easy way to quantify hotel room nights. You can ask the attendees. We've also been using the explorevictoriatexas.com to reach out to tournament participants.
I think he means just in general, right?
Just in general.
Just
how are we
in general, how many, what's our occupancy rate? How many hotel room nights in a year, or the number of hotel nights that are being stayed in a year going up, going down, that type of thing is what he means. We have that. It was in his annual report. So we can just look to incorporate it, yeah.
Oh, we can absolutely look at incorporating that, sir.
Yeah, because I mean, it just ties right back into your goal of putting
Sure.
heads in beds and
Absolutely, we
that
can
we're-
absolutely do
what
that.
we're doing is the right direction
Yes,
to
sir.
accomplish that.
Going down just some departmental efficiencies. That's Ann Alvarado right there. She was a 30-year employee of the city of Victoria, retired, and we pulled her back in. She does our contract brochure rack filling for us, goes out once a month to all of our hotels. She's efficient, professional, very friendly, does a wonderful job at that service for us, and that saves us staff time from having to do that. It's a lot of mileage. It's at least an entire day out of the month, so she's been a great asset for us on that. I'm also looking forward to partnering with a digital third-party agency to do digital passport programs. That would also include taking over the You'll Love Shopping Victoria promotion. One of the limitations of those kind of things is using paper passport stamp booklets. So we're not capturing information from people who are maybe visiting a couple of the shops and then not finishing the promotion. So this is a really successful program. It's a company called Banwango. A lot of cities use it. We're looking to use it for culinary trails. But the first and foremost would be working with them to incorporate our You Love Shopping into this digital program where we could really capture more information about who's participating. And then also, we've started working with a third-party agency, Building Brands, to assist with filming and editing of the bi-monthly episodes of Explore Your Victoria. That's hosted by myself with a sort of day tripper style themed show, a local experiential travel show. It's a lot of fun to film. Check out our YouTube page for episodes. We're going to have one coming up here in just a few weeks. We visited the Axe Society and Atlatl Spear Throwing at the Museum of the Coastal Bend. So we work to get those out every other month. So it saves staff time in the Communications and Public Affairs Department, and we're able to get those out with more regularity.
Are you going to show them the one of you getting shot?
Oh, I don't have that video on my hand, Jesus, sorry. But yeah, one of the episodes, our last episode at Outlaw Pass, we did a good, bad, and the ugly style of shootout at the end at the Nerf battlefield at Outlaw Pass, and I lost. But yeah, absolutely. Those have been a lot of fun to film. So we're continuing to film those and show people, ways to explore Victoria, but then make it fun and keep them interested and tuned in and watching the whole video. Some new programs for 2023 to spearhead the city's bicentennial planning efforts, to launch a rebranding project, departmental reorganization, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in a minute. That includes an assistant director. To foster regional collaborations for tourism marketing, I included the picture of the birding deck there because I think that is a market that we could really work with some of our other cities in our region and local attractions like the Aransas Wildlife Refuge to promote that activity on a regional scale rather than just Victoria. And then develop a local ambassador program for Victoria residents and create hospitality and Victoria tourism trainings in working with UHV Small Business Development Center on
When you
that.
say the ambassador program,
Sure.
what do you mean by that?
So I had some ideas, and this would be something that the assistant director would touch on, a project they would spearhead. There are some really interesting programs that other cities have where they have some sort of quiz or informational curriculum that somebody fills out, answers, takes a short quiz, and they become for instance, Houston has one, Houston Insider. And then they're invited to, every once in a while, certain kind of events that are held at maybe a bar or a family fun attraction like the zoo, or they get coupons or discounts. And so it's a low cost of entry way to get into it. And then we show them ways that they can explore Victoria and it feels a little exclusive. So developing some kind of program like that gets people out in the community that feels a little exclusive.
Yeah, and
Community docent
typically,
position?
I'm sorry?
Community docent position?
Not necessarily like a docent. I'm more of like an ambassador, insider.
Right.
There's been
for example, I was involved with the tourism ambassador program in San Antonio, and it's in essence a curriculum to teach people about what there is to do, right? So think of the touch points that visitors have, right? They have touch points with people at hotels, right, that work the front desk. They have touch points with people at restaurants, right? And so having this type of curriculum in working with all these different, restaurateurs and hotel owners, management, et cetera, hopefully they can have their employees go through this curriculum of becoming a tourism ambassador program, right? So when somebody checks in at a hotel, and they ask like, hey, what is there to do around here? The person isn't like, nothing. They actually have gone through a curriculum that tells them, a little bit more about, the zoo and et cetera, right? And so the intent is to just have ambassadors out there that are more knowledgeable in helping spread the message about what there is to do in Victoria.
Thank you, that makes more sense.
Sure.
I was thinking along the lines of chamber ambassador, and I'm thinking, we already have that program.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Totally different.
So some budget highlights for the department. The CVB budget request equals $964,276, an increase of $193,320 or 25.1% compared to fiscal year 2022 adopted budget, $770,956. The fiscal year 2023 budget includes $175,000 in one-time expense, an increase of $125,000 or 250% from last year's one-time budget, and $789,276 in recurring expense, an increase of $68,320. Personnel increase is due to $54,440 in baseline adjustments and $8,681 in Phase 3 of compensation. And I can go through those particular increases. So the personnel and benefits is, of course, you see as a Phase 3 of the comp plan. The baseline adjustments is attributed to the reorganization of the group sales and services position to that assistant director, as well as the admin 3 position that Jesus mentioned last night that would be shared with the economic development department and wouldn't be beginning until January 1 of 2023. You see not any increase in supplies or maintenance in contractual services. And that is a part of that one-time expense. And these one-time expense I mentioned will be coming from the CVB Reserve Fund. They will not be coming from our annual hotel collections or the Hotel Motel Reserve Fund. And that contractual service of $50,000 is for the a rebranding study to be launched beginning October 1, a tourism branding study. We've never actually had a branding study for our tourism efforts done. With the bicentennial coming up just around the corner, we thought it was a really key time to be studying what it is about our community that makes it special. What is it that we want to broadcast to the state and the country to bring people here, and what gives us our unique identity.
Have you looked at all the other times that we've done that same study?
As far as from my understanding, the only branding study that was done for Victoria was 2008, was the North Star study done with the Chamber of Commerce. There was a brand that was done, the Bring Your Boots campaign, you may recall that, from about more than 10 years ago. But from what I'm aware, there was no branding study actually created to develop that.
And how would this interplay with, you say branding, we're in Texas, I'm thinking about, we have charts of brands that people have picked for their cattle and they've never changed. And it seems like we keep trying to brand. The city has a logo, the city has the V.
Right.
And I'm just a little sensitive to, are we looking at having 2 different brands, or how is that going to tie together? What's the distinction between what we have? I understand you're trying to figure out what we can do, to make ourselves stand apart. I think I'm probably just taking issue with the advertising terminology.
Sure.
But so explain that a little bit
Right.
more.
So when you're talking branding study, it is more than just logos and things like that. Now, part of that is developing logos, brand statements, taglines, things like that. It's also your color schemes. It's what you highlight on and focus on when you're marketing. Now, I've had discussions with Main Street because there are other departments that would probably need to be involved in this process and could possibly piggyback off this sort of branding study to where there is some cohesion. Now, when you're looking at all of our city departments, all of us have different goals and objectives and who we reach out to. So it's not necessary that all of us are, involved in it and we all use the same brand, but it is something we want to be sensitive to and consider these other departments, especially ones that face outwardly, like Parks and Recreation, but especially Main Street, because what we do is so closely intertwined. So it is, logos and that sort of thing are part of it, but it's also really drilling down to what is your identity, what makes you special, and what is it about you that would make people want to come to your community.
And that part makes sense, and I understand, but
Sure.
I get told by people all the time that you have to be careful about changing your brand, changing it too often, and
Sure.
certainly you've got to be consistent with it. And what I'm hearing is a couple of departments go in this direction, a few others go in this direction, and
But I think we need to be sensitive to the audience, right? Because we're kind of mixing it all together, right? So yes, there's some branding elements associated with who we are as an organization, right? That sort of centric around our audience of being, maybe you, our employees, local folks, right? But this branding is about tourism and bringing people to our community. And so as an example, if people say that, what makes Victoria special and unique is our rich history, well, what about our logos conveys that, right? What about our taglines conveys that, right? Bring your boots or saddle your boots or whatever it was, right? That doesn't say anything about the rich history of our community, right? And so there's a clear disconnect between what we all think is important and unique about our community and what we're putting out there. Currently, our CVB doesn't even use that tagline that was created, 10 years ago or whenever it was, because it's not truly reflective of our community, right? And so we've kind of been winging it for the last 10 years in terms of what we put out there, and we don't want to do that anymore. And we think that using the 2024 Bicentennial is the perfect springboard to launching a new brand that is truly reflective of our history, especially if we launch it during our Bicentennial year, to be able to focus more on heritage tourism, which arguably is probably an underappreciated or underutilized asset that we could bank on. Part of the reason why the reorg incorporates an assistant director, because we want to be able to bring in a tourism professional with experience into our organization to help us through these efforts, because these are big efforts. And so we need the expertise and the personnel in order to get us through these efforts and to help Joel. And so it's all connected. It's all connected with leading up to our Bicentennial, planning for that. That's going to be labor intensive. And then obviously the branding part. But two completely different things, right? We're not suggesting changing our city logo. So this branding effort that he's talking about isn't going to is not even going to touch what is our logo as a city organization, because it has nothing to do with it. Completely different.
thank you both for the additional explanation. That helped.
Thank you for the question. That was great. Thank you. Just in other charges, some slight increases in things like cell phone charges. Also looking for an increase in our leisure sales and services line item for those brochure rack filling services. Interdepartmental, the increase is mostly due to IT. And in capital outlay, last year you had $50,000. That was for a gateway sign. That project is underway. And then $125 this year, proposed this year for a combo project of wayfinding sign, park entrance signage, downtown signage. Both the downtown and Riverside Park master plans suggested signage. It's an appropriate expense for hot funds, and we have those funds in that CVB reserve that we'd like to draw down, as well as our wayfinding signs around town, which those can be improved. I think that project can be looked at to be muchly improved. You see the variance there in the one-time expenditures. Recurring expenditures, again, touching on some mostly just the personnel changes. Our expenses there. The amended budget, and I believe that is from partially due to the De Leon statue project there. Department full-time employees, we have 4 positions there. And you see in this fiscal year, we're in the process of reorganizing the group sales and services manager to an assistant director. Just some high-level personnel descriptions. Would like to touch on the assistant director for just a sec, would manage the community outreach efforts for the departments, trainings and local ambassador development. Also manage our designations from the Office of the Governor. That includes the Texas Music Friendly and Texas Film Friendly. I think we can be doing more to leverage those designations as film and music friendly communities. And then also serve as another face for the department along with myself, comfortable on camera, radio, local media appearances, those sort of efforts. The recommended, not recommended list, which we've pretty much touched on above, and then a few pictures of people out and exploring Victoria. So at this time, I can answer any additional questions you might have.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to a busy year, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right, so next up, Danielle's going to present economic development in Main Street.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am excited and proud to present 2 budgets this year and not just one. First, we're going to kick it off with the economic development, and then we will follow up with Main Street. So for the Economic Development Department description, it is a new department for the City of Victoria. It was created with the intention to help retain, attract, and expand business community and overall enhance the quality of life. The department is possible through an agreement between the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation and the City of Victoria. The department will also oversee the Main Street program, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the org chart. With the 2 divisions combined, though, the staff will be responsible for maintaining and managing the Victoria Main Street Board, Victoria Sales Tax Development Board, the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Board, and the Future Cultural District Board. So as you can see, the department has grown just a little bit. We have me as the director of the division. The admin assistant, as mentioned in Joel's presentation, is that shared position that we look to hire hopefully in January of 2023. We have hired a Main Street manager, Kate Garcia, and we have Kristen Kopecki as our downtown coordinator. The department mission is for the economic development to foster economic growth through collaboration and innovation for the continued prosperity of our community. And this next graphic really just shows kind of how it all ties in together. Why communities invest in economic development. First, you start out with some economic developers. They help with connecting folks with resources within the community for their businesses, help kind of overcome some barriers that may occur along the way, and bring that strategic mindset to help them create that successful business in Victoria. Then that spurs to increasing the tax base. It creates jobs for the community and then enhances the social fabric of our community. Then that turns into building our community, making it stronger, and then, possibly help funding parks, infrastructure, public safety, housing funds, quality of life, and then back to helping with public employees and the revenue that is generated to fund our overall budget. And then it circles back around. Some of the goals and objectives that we've put together is proactively seeking out new businesses or developers that can provide retail or services needed in Victoria. This division will also be more responsive to businesses and developers for providing a direct line of contact with the city and access to those resources as mentioned before. I look forward to developing a better website, which I'll get to later, that will have a better menu of available resources and incentives for prospective businesses and developers. I want to promote and enhance the area as a regional trade center to increase our sales tax and hotel occupancy tax revenue. Look to grow a more diverse employment sector to be not so dependent on energy-related sectors by working closely with local training or education organizations such as Victoria College or the University of Houston, Victoria. We'll seek to proactively use the shopping leakage to attract new businesses and promoting existing businesses to help keep those dollars within our community. Look to diversify and grow the local tax base to keep our community strong, economy strong, and continue to work with the retail coach to attract those new retail businesses in the area. Some of the fiscal year 22 highlights that I have here are projects that were supported by the Sales Tax Development Corporation and the city, and that being the Victoria Town Center scheduled to break ground this summer in 2022 with 10 new retail stores. Springwood Medical Plaza completed construction of the first of 4 sites for the additional medical services to the community. The Texan Convenience Store and gas station was completed on Highway 59. Innovation Collective kicked off their first event of 70 for the year in January, and they are still going strong with all their events. Midcoast Construction Academy, which is a 4-year trade program, has 37 students enrolled. 20 students are pre-apprentices and 17 are apprentices. The Port of Victoria completed their rail extension to provide more services for future development. The new FedEx distribution center at the Lone Tree Industrial Park broke ground and is nearing completion as we speak. We also have a purchase of additional parcel at the Lone Tree Industrial Park for Select Transportation, which is a Freightliner dealership and mechanic shop. And then we also, as you are aware, of the 5 new quick service food options on Avera at the old Del Norte site. And those are the logos for those businesses as mentioned to the right. Performance metrics are still being developed. Like I mentioned, this is a new department. I hope to bring back some more developed metrics for you next budget season. Some of the departmental efficiencies that we gained were essentially just creating this new department. This creates that direct line for economic development projects to go through this department and initiatives, which was currently shared and is still kind of shared with other staff and several other staff. So we hope to consolidate those within the department. Also, being in a new department, we have a new office suite in 700 Main Center, and that is a dedicated space which will improve our ability to provide better services to the businesses and having future meetings and such with creating deals with those developers. And then the Economic Development Director will assist the VSCDC board by being the primary contact. Some of the new programs and initiatives we hope to do in the next fiscal year is promote the area as one of the best places to start or expand your business. As proposed in the marketing line item of the budget, we recommend to promote a unique quality of life, work, play space so that it'll help recruit with some of those businesses. The budget line item also includes establishing a stronger online presence, as mentioned before, so that we have a true landing page similar to what we have for the Main Street website. We want to make it more user-friendly and more functional for finding those available incentives that we hope to grow and offer. We want to host 2 workshops that help educate the public on incentives offered by such as the Texas PACE Authority Program, tax incentives, and the Victoria Sales Tax Development Board initiatives. We look to update the Economic Development Incentive Guideline policy and process, develop a platform on the website that offers a complete list of available properties within the city. That way it's like a one-stop shop when you arrive to that webpage. An ongoing development of the Economic Strategic Plan working with Newmark Consultants, which that is still ongoing and we look to finish and complete by the end of the year. So the budget is small. The request equals $197,584. Obviously, it's an increase of 100% because this is a brand new budget, brand new department. Most of those reoccurring expenses are personnel supplies, office supplies, and that proposed marketing campaign. And then there are no one-time expenses. So there's a brief breakdown a little bit there on those costs and expenditures. And then you see down there we added the administrative assistant, which is that shared position at the bottom. Are there any questions for this budget?
One of the things that Danielle forgot to mention that I want to remind you all on too is that we have relied on a partnership with the retail coach to help do a lot of this work. And so historically, the city has relied on the retail coach to provide some data like the leakage reports, but also relied on the retail coach to be sort of a primary point of contact with prospective businesses, sort of be a mediator in kind of helping these folks out. And so to be a little bit tad more clear, I suppose, on the efficiency is that now we hope to have, of course, Danielle be that person as opposed to, a third party person, right? Obviously, Aaron Farmer with the retail coach is great, but they have a bunch of other clients, right? And so from our perspective, having somebody in-house whose full-time job is to be that primary point of contact with prospective businesses will be huge, because now somebody will be dealing directly with a city employee that, will have more accurate information around everything, available properties, incentives, planning processes, et cetera, versus right now, I know you don't see it, but we see it, is that there's just too many people in the way, right? We'll have developers, reach out to Aaron reaches out to somebody with the city, then somebody reaches back out to Aaron, then Aaron reaches back out to a prospect. And so sort of eliminating that middle step not only will be more efficient, but hopefully be more productive, because now that person dealing directly with a prospective developer or business person is just more accurate, right? And so we hope that that makes a big difference in how quickly some of these projects run through the cycle as they look at Victoria as a prospect. So not something the public sees, but that's an efficiency in itself just by having our own point of contact.
Can I ask a question about, not, not Main Street, but economic development? There's a Dodge Charger listed lease in there.
That was to help with transporting and doing site views and taking them out to different properties.
It's
But it was not, it didn't make it past the city manager's office. It wasn't funded, so.
Okay, I couldn't, it
It
went
was
by
a
so
quest.
fast, I was
Yeah.
like,
It was an initial request, but it was not funded.
Yeah, and the reason why it's that is simply because of availability of vehicles and working with Enterprise and stuff. So it just was quicker to get Dodge Chargers. So if you see a bunch of Dodge Chargers with the police department soon, because they were the ones that were available.
okay, thank you.
But yeah, it's not in there.
All right, ready to move on to Main Street? All right, so for the department description, as you know, Main Street is responsible for downtown Victoria. That department provides resources, guidance, and incentives for businesses, development, retention, preservation, special events, and programming in downtown. This is the third year that Victoria Main Street has been operating under the City of Victoria umbrella. And just a few weeks ago, we had an email sent to us from Main Street America that we are now an accredited Main Street program versus an affiliate. So that is an achievement that we are very proud of. The org chart is the same. There's our department. We have Kristen Kopecki on the left and Kate on the right. And our mission is through leadership and the use of the Main Street program, we'll ensure that downtown contributes to the community's overall quality of life by providing opportunities for economic growth as well as for entertainment and personal enjoyment. For the goals and objectives, these were goals and objectives provided by the Downtown Master Plan. We want to leverage existing points of interest and daily destinations to attract and retain people and visitors in downtown. We'll have dedicated and sustainable incentive program to encourage development and redevelopment in the area. Downtown will thrive as a hub for regional arts, culture, and ecotourism for the Coastal Bend. Downtown will also meet local expectations for an active and interesting destination with a variety of experiences. Downtown will have a robust year-round event and festival calendar to define downtown as a go-to destination, and this year has definitely already proved that. We've seen a lot of events this year and the last, whether they be co-sponsored, held by ourselves, or just the general public having their events. Victoria will coordinate all public sector activity and facilitate partnerships to best leverage resources to help downtown reach its full potential. We look to attract and support a greater diversity of users and businesses. We want to continue doing all that by still making downtown safe, walkable destination for all users. And we want to maximize its financial potential, supporting fiscal sustainability and quality of life improvements, not just within downtown, but citywide too. And all those goals and objectives were driven by the community feedback through that downtown master plan. For 2022, there was a total of 6 business starts and expansions and locations. You might remember that from the annual report that we had. Those being the Chick-fil-A admin office, Santa Rita Market on Santa Rosa, Harco on Wan Lin, Building Brands Marketing, expansion. We also had Ballet Academy of South Texas move in at 204 North Main, and they also brought in another business, Blooming Flowers, within their same building. There was a net gain of 29 jobs. There was $2.3 million of public-private reinvestment. There was about 45 total events, programs held. And keep in mind, like I mentioned before, all of this data is based off of calendar year as to be in line with what I provide to the state for the state reporting through the Texas Historical Commission. So it's not fiscal year, it's calendar year data. We awarded the 8 facade grants resulting in $356,938. Facades was highlighted in the November Texas Monthly again, and they celebrated 140 years. We completed and began implementing the downtown master plan. We established the tax increment reinvestment zone, and again, we became an accredited Main Street program. So diving a little bit into the performance metrics, as you can see, we have gone up a little bit every year. And in 2020, we had about 1 million in public investment. There was 1.3 in private investment. That public investment was really driven by the county when they did their remodel of their chambers. And then on 21, there was about 2 million of private investment. And then we had a little bit more of private-public partnership. That's when we implemented the facade grant program. And these are projections for the completion of this year, this calendar year. We look to have probably 2.5 million in private investment and 2.5 in public investment. And then you see the 200,000 there for the facade grant because we increased that last year from 50 to 100,000. And that's a 50-50 matching grant, so that's where we got that number from. New housing and residential units, we see that increasing. This big jump here, it's only 8 units. That's counting I'm sorry, I just went blank. The new housing units off of William Street.
Diamond Hill?
Yes, Diamond Hill, Steve Klein's properties, yes. Net jobs gained, we're at 29 of last year. We project about 20. I think we've already surpassed that with some of the new businesses that have already opened up this year. Again, we had 49, I know it said 45 events up there, but 49 is the accurate number. Projected 25, but we've already, I think, probably already went over that number as well this year. And then total projects, we had 10, and that's public and private, 10 projects. We're projecting 15. Right now, we already have 12 on the books, and that's just facade grants and general permits that are pulled of projects happening within the Main Street boundary. And that's just data from the first quarter. So the first 4 months, we've already gone over the total number of projects. We have another one coming up soon, so we'll have some more data for the quarter to report on. Departmental efficiencies, as I mentioned before, we were able to permanently bring on Kristen Kopicki as the downtown coordinator. Her focus is for marketing and organizing special events, thus creating time for hosting more events and better marketing of the events. This has also created more time to focus on the master plan and implementation. With the reorg, we also hired Kate Garcia as the new Main Street manager, and that helped spread all of the workload amongst 3 of us. And then the Main Street board successfully raised $18,600. Some of our new program and initiatives is we look to host the Viva Texas Film Fest, which is an independent film festival in September. And that's going to be more focused on Latin films, Latin-produced films. So that's where you see the more Latin colors and themes on this side here. That's going to be a very big event, so we're super excited about that one. We want to finalize guidelines, initiate a building improvement grant for downtown properties, move the Christmas on Square to the first weekend in December and the lighted parade to the second weekend to activate downtown more frequently during the holidays, and then establish and promote both the cultural district and entertainment district, which is still in the works.
Danielle, is Viva Texas Film Festival an existing film festival, or is that something you're creating anew?
That is a brand new one that we're in collaboration with Carissa Winters and Claire Santillana, some community members that we have. We're also working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well. We've hired a company to help us with putting that event on. And so it's a brand new event. It's a brand new event, brand new branding, brand new for us to host. We wanted to bring it back and highlight some of those films. I think it's a great nightlife activity for downtown, and it reaches that goal of activating downtown on the nights and weekends. Hopefully it'll be an annual event. That's our goal.
Thank you.
Budget highlights, we have the request of $348,319. It's an increase of $42,288 or 13.8%. There are no one-time expenses. That increase is due to a request for an artist to come and do the restoration of the Santa Rosa mural on the side of El Paso Tacos and Tequila. That mural is pretty faded. I think it's an important part of our downtown because it showcases what facades used to be at where 120 South Main is today. So hopefully we can fund that, and it'd be a nice thing to add to the bicentennial.
And how old is it?
It was painted in 1985.
Super old.
No, I'm not super old.
Did we budget anything for cleaning the existing statue in De Leon Plaza?
I do not think so. We
No.
talked about it. We'll look at it.
Yeah, we'll look at it. And the other item on the list was the request for a 4-foot tree base, where we're not able to successfully get that last year because the cost of supplies went up tremendously than what we originally had budgeted. So we put it back in there. That is to really formalize and showcase the sponsors better than on a pliable board on those pedestrian barricades that we used to do. So we would eliminate that. All the sponsors and logos would be very nice on the front or around the base of the tree. And it's also functional. It would gain us a lot better access to inside the tree whenever we need to do maintenance. Because right now you just have to crawl through the branches, and that's a little crazy. So, with that said, I have a nice video that I would like to show y'all. Kate and Kristen have been working very hard on this. This is a promotional video for the Future Cultural District, and they've done a great job working together and getting this product to you guys. So,
The world premiere.
yes. You can play. I'm not trying to drive without a mouse. Do you want me to do it?
Uh-oh.
Good.
Do you have any other questions for me?
No, but I'm impressed with their drone flying abilities. Good job.
I have a question. Where are we with the tours?
So at this point, we are proceeding with finalizing the board makeup, and we will be bringing that to you soon, maybe next month. The finalized participating entities starting off will be us, Victoria College, and the Navigation District. So we're proceeding with just those three entities as part of the TERS. So as I said, we will bring forward the creation and the appointment of board members to you next month. Since this is the first year of it, we will more than likely recommend that we appoint some of you to the board to just help launch it. One of the first course of actions for the board will be finalizing the project and finance plan that we have to submit to the state on how we plan on spending the money, and obviously creation of bylaws and things like that. So we expect all that to happen this summer. And if the county decides to join later, we'll just amend everything and add them to the board later.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. This time, we're going to take a 10-minute recess, so we will reconvene at 7:10. our
No.
speaker. All right, 7:13, call the meeting back to order, and we have Mr. Gill. He has 2 5-minute presentations.
I could handle that except for the video that I got afterwards. It's a real-time video of concrete curing. So just be ready for that one. Okay. The first fund we're going to do is the water fund, and it's the part of the Public Works Division that is the revenue side. It consists of 6 divisions: water distribution, water treatment, wastewater collections, wastewater treatment, industrial waste and pretreatment, and environmental. All of the divisions together represent the water, of course, the water production, collection of the sewer, treatment of both divisions.
Pretty much everything Greg's going to be
Yeah, pretty much everything.
involved with.
And we're one of the old divisions because we've always had water, we've always had sewer.
And next year, he's going to make this presentation.
I'm good for that. We have 1 surface water treatment plant, 10 water wells, 2 wastewater treatment plants, 18 lift stations, 386 miles of water lines, and 350 miles of sanitary sewer lines. And we also have 5 elevated water towers and 2 pump stations. The organizational chart, as you'll see, is broken up into kind of 2 divisions. You have on the right-hand side would be the Public Works General Fund Division, which I'll get into next, which is streets, engineering, and traffic. The left is the revenue side, which is your water divisions, your distribution and collections, your water plant manager, your wastewater treatment plant, and customer service. I want to thank them. They're all an integral part of developing this budget and keeping it up and watching it as the spending goes through the years.
Where's storm water in that?
Stormwater in which, okay, the stormwater falls over into streets.
Okay.
Storm drainage is in the streets division,
Okay.
streets and drainage. And I can get into some of the changes later, but we're doing some reorganizations. One is since we've lost our CIP manager, we're now going to move towards getting a city engineer and bringing that person in, a little reorganization there. The other one is under the plant. We're going to bring in an electrician full-time, which will help, part of the SCADA system, just keeping up with the motors, pumps, electrical portions of both the plants. And the other one is, which I'll get into later specifically, is you'll see 2 sweepers under in this division. Those are new, as well as an engineer, and I'll get into those in the future. That's our division, picture of everybody. We're kind of in the same boat as the library. We've got a lot of staff that works nights, works weekends, they're on standbys. This is a partial group of everybody we could get. We have 83 staffed group right now, and of that 83, we're currently at 58. One of the things that I want to point out, like the police chief did, is in our collections and distribution, we're supposed to have 36 and we're down 16. It's a really rough one to capture the employees to get in. It's a hard job. It's nights, weekends, standbys, but Cheryl and I are actively working on getting recruits and getting to stay. We've done a lot of things to help. Our mission is to provide a safe, consistent production and distribution of potable water and a safe, reliable treatment and collection of wastewater. Goals and objectives is reduce loss of unbilled water through increased meter testing and replacements, preventative cleaning and inspection of wastewater and collection lines to prevent reportable wastewater overflows and odor issues, treat the water, which currently is 4,000 million gallons. So if you add 6 more zeros to that, that's how many gallons. Meeting all federal and state water quality requirements, maintain higher water quality standards to remain in the Texas Optimization Program. And out of the 323 plants that are in there, we're one of 23 that are part of that program. And then the other is goal injected report 0 TCEQ wastewater violations. Our highlights for 22 is we repaired the existing AMR antenna, and then we added a new AMR antenna to increase the accuracy of the automated readings from mid-80s to high 90s percentage. This reduces our drive-by time, annual meter reading for billing. I'm going through my sheet. The other one is we launched the advertising campaign for WaterWise, which doubled our customer portal users from 200 to 400. The STEP program, which is part of the thing that we're trying to get the employees involved in the city and to retain them. And we did it internally through some of our divisions, and we're continuing to improve that and work towards that retention. I got 3 minutes. Improved surface water treatment plant chlorine building. We did a lot of work on that. Winterized the water plant, pump stations, and water towers. Cleaned and televised 23,000 linear feet of sewer lines. We've got the UNICE 59 and sewer water study for undeveloped properties not served. And we did the in-house preparation of Senate Bill 3, which was part of the emergency preparedness plan. Some of our performance metrics is there's the daily consumption, and we're at 21, you can see it was higher. 22, it's a little bit lower. 21 probably more than likely was the freeze with the high water consumption during that time. Water breaks repaired, you can see it's going up. We're hoping at some point we trend down. This year, it's been a good year so far. I'm crossing my fingers, and I think we'll see those go down. Meters installed, 21 was a year. This is kind of a good relation to how we're doing as far as buildings, remodels, things like that. So that's why we've got that in there. Average daily flow, this is on our wastewater plant. We've gone up in 22. I think that was due to, in large part, due to the rains that we had. And that can go back to where we're doing that I&I study so that flow can get reduced back to its normal flows. Manholes repaired, again, we're seeing a decrease, which is good. We're doing a lot of in-house repairs. As we repair lines, replace, through our CIP, these manholes are getting fixed. Departmental efficiencies, we're in the process. Once we get staffed up, we want to reorganize to 4-person crews. This makes the crews more efficient. They can get the jobs done quicker. That's one of our goals. Cross-train employees with census analytics to analyze high water users. This is an efficiency that helps when we had the freeze. And we want to get that message out. And if somebody has a leak, we can watch it, see it. What's interesting is we're flipping it around because now we got the drought, we can see the same thing. So we're already working in that direction to put that group together and be able to get notices out if people are using water when they really shouldn't. Purchase trailer-mounted generator. Downtime reduced for annual cleaning of sedimentation basins. Part of the freeze initiative, reduce that downtime when we clean out that sedimentation basin at the water plant. Purchase the trailer-mounted generator for emergency power at lift stations. And we're using iPad and GoPro for the field pre-treatment inspections and service calls. New initiatives is the water replacement program. That's part of the CIP, but it is also part of our annual budget, and we're grouping those together. We're looking at 2,000 to 3,000 meters. Develop an RFQ for water rate study and storm fee. That is starting the process of looking at our rate structure and looking at the stormwater fee. We're going to be working to get the RFQ developed and then hit it in 2024. Security access improvements at the surface water plant. And here's the one I want to talk about the most is add 2 employees for the stormwater best management practice, basically street sweeping. As part of our industrial waste pretreatment program, we have to prepare the MS4 for the city of Victoria, which is our stormwater program. How to keep, debris out of the storm sewer, out of the rivers, grease, odor, silt, debris out of the river systems. Part of that MS4 is a best management practice that you have to develop and prepare and submit and get audited through EPA and TCEQ. In that best management practice, street sweeping, it works great. So what we're wanting to do is we've had the street sweeping in that budget, but we've contracted it for the last 4 or 5 years. What we want to do is do it in-house. We've looked at the analysis, and it is cheaper to do in-house sweeping. We can also get more to sweep the streets more often. For instance, contract, we did the state roads once a month, our collectors every other month, and then residential twice a year. Doing it in-house with 2 sweepers and 2 personnel, still state highways once a month. We can increase the collectors to every month and get the residential about 6 times a year. First year, we may not hit that all the way because of the debris that's in there. But following that, we're going to see some marked improvements of what our streets look like.
And hopefully with the in-house crews, we can actually see them sweeping, since nobody's ever actually seen the contractor street sweep. So.
Would-
Go ahead.
Can that same equipment be used after events downtown?
Yes. Yes.
100%. That's one of the biggest pros, is that we have a lot of flexibility to use it before an event downtown. Or if we know there's going to be, a 5K running through, neighborhoods, we can send the street sweeper. I mean, it can definitely be used in a ton of different ways.
Great.
Sweep our parking lots at parks, right? I mean, it's just a bunch of different things that it could do.
We went to the street sweeper program because of the equipment. Was never reliable. How are we fixing that with returning to doing it ourselves?
Part of that, from what I've remember, I've been here a long time, I'm old, play on that role. We did not get a sweeper that was built for this town. In other words, the sweeper we got was, it wouldn't articulate with the roadways. And it was more of a vacuum, and when you went over an area of, let's say, in my neighborhood that's up and down, it would just slide right over it.
Like Tanglewood.
Like Tanglewood. It did not do what it needed to do. That was part of the reason why we went contract. It just wasn't effective. But as we're looking through, we're talking and looking at the sweepers to make sure we get one that can do our streets. They're not perfectly smooth. They're not all concrete. They're not, all like Navarro. But to be able to do each one of those. So yes, we're looking at making sure we get the best sweeper we can get.
Ken, since I don't piggyback on this old people thing, one of the other parts to the Sweeping Oak program was the maintenance and repairs of these sweepers. They weren't kept up. Could you talk about the portion that we also buying with the sweeper for the maintenance and keep up of the system?
What we're wanting to do, would be a lease program, lease to purchase. In that program, I hope this is what you're talking about, one of the parts of that is for that supplier to maintain that equipment, have a program where they come in and maintain it. They come in and we have a price to change out the brushes, change out the hydraulics. Before, we didn't have that. We just bought it, and they're difficult to maintain. I'll be honest, they're challenged. They got a lot of moving parts. And before, we didn't have the facilities to maintain them. Is that what you were referring to? Where was I? Right.
I think you just wrapped up utilities and we're getting ready to go to.
I can do that. I'll get straight into the revenues. This is the good part. Water Department combined budget revenue is budgeted at $26,653,000, a decrease of $40,000 or 0.1% compared to fiscal year adopted budget of $26,693,000. And that's mainly due to water sales. Last year, it was a little low because we had some rain. This year, I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit higher. This is a conservative approach of projecting our revenues. And that's a breakdown of the revenues. That shows that we're going down a little bit in the water sales, but we're going up in the sewer utilities a little bit just to account for what we're actually seeing. I'm not going to, the dump fees, that's what the haulers bring to us. We've seen an increase as we get more restaurants, more businesses, that's going to go up and we're going to gain more revenue. That's the same thing. That's the reoccurring. And then, as you can see, are no proposed rate changes. They remain the same. Again, we're looking at doing that RFQ. I'll go through the rate changes. Here's the highlights. And this is where I want to talk. We've got 6 divisions, and under each division, there's a lot of stuff. So I'm going to hit the highlights in general of the water fund. There's a lot of things you want to call, ask questions. When you look at it, feel free to. The combined operating budget requests equal $27,976,000, a decrease of $727,000 or 2.5% compared to fiscal year 22 adopted budget of $28,704,000. The fiscal year 23 budget includes one-time expenses of $3.3 million and $24,666,000 in recurring expense, a decrease of $543,000 or 2.2%. Again, some of the highlights is 2 additional employees and 2 sweeper leases, 112 for the personnel and then 146 for the lease of both sweepers. We haven't, these are just projected estimates on the sweeper cost, lease. Increase in chemicals, we had talked about that earlier, $560,000 for the water plant and $75,000 for the wastewater plant. As you can see, the chemicals have definitely gone up. Greens, design of Greens Addition lift station for $72,000. Greens Addition is the lift station that's at Moody Street at the river. If you'll know, if you look at it when you're driving by, it's in the hole and it gets flooded a lot, so we want to redesign it, get it out of that hole so we don't have those maintenance issues. Lift station pump repairs was another big item that we've highlighted. We're starting to address more and more into these lift stations that we have. We've got 18 of them, multiple pumps in each one, so we're hitting them faster than we have in the past. I think that's a need that's been forthcoming. Antennas for both the remote lift stations and water wells and remote sites for $200,000, $100,000 in each one. That gives us more communication to those lift stations. Right now, we don't have it. Our SCADA system is not picking some of those up. With these new antennas, we're going to coordinate and make sure it fits in with our new SCADA system when those come in. So we're keeping in contact with the designers of that. And then another one, replacement of the dump truck at the wastewater plant for $130,000. I'm not gonna, if you would like, if you got any questions on these, I can specifically answer them, but it's just, what I want to do is hit those highlights, and then as you look through, those are the variances that made up some of those highlights. One of the things you may see in the water plant, why it went down, everything there, we spent over $500,000 at the chlorine building. Big safety improvements. I know y'all passed a lot of those construction contracts, but that was a big one where we've actually got that chlorine building 100% done, and the employees out there are thankful on that one. And I'll entertain any questions.
There are the links to the other pages, and if you want
Yes.
more specifics.
Where's the fund balance again? I mean, you show us this, but where's the fund balance?
Is it on there?
I don't know.
Which one, Gilbert?
Yeah, I can pull it up, or we can pull it up. It's off the homepage.
Would you answer a question for clarification? What's the difference between environmental under your department and environmental services departments that's coming up?
The environmental under our department is what that does is looks at the water rights issues, looks at the water legislation, wastewater legislation. That's to help fund Gary Middleton going up to Austin, being part of our Region L. And that's the difference. Ours is focused on water and sewer. He's not. I mean, we're the good guys. He's not.
While he's pulling that up,
Thank
I
you.
have
Careful, he
another,
has the last word tonight.
Oh, that's right. He does go last. I'm in trouble.
while he's pulling that up, I have another question. We're under stage 2 water right now.
Yes.
Is this earlier than we've ever been?
Yes.
What would trigger stage 3, and what would happen when we go to stage 3?
Stage 3 is triggered by a certain elevation at the off-channel reservoirs and the flows that are happening down at the rivers, combination of both. We're not there yet, okay? This little rain that came in has helped a little bit because there's a lot of triggers, and I can do another presentation at the next council meeting. I did one earlier this morning that I can go through all the stages, what they all are. But it's safe to say that we're not in stage 3. And as long as that river stays up and we're not pumping that secondary water rights down, we're going to be, we got to just keep hoping that we get the rain. And one thing for the community to know, it's not just rain here. The rain here is great, but it needs to be throughout that basin. It needs to be from here. It needs to rain in Cuero, Gonzales, Seguin, New Braunfels, San Marcos, all the way up. And that's one of the things that's interesting is it may rain here, but it didn't do the river a bit of good. But it has helped. It has gone up to the point where we can pump out of our main water right. So we're filling up everything we got.
If we get to stage 3, do we then just use groundwater, or?
It's a mixed use. We use groundwater as part of our water rights. We still have other water rights that we have that can only be used when we have the groundwater exchange.
But they allow us to draw out of the river at that time, but we backfeed it with
Groundwater. Right, and it goes through the west outfall.
So we don't have to change our chemical processes.
Correct. And a lot of that too is, again, we still have other water rights that are literally tied to that groundwater exchange program. We can't use them unless we're in the groundwater exchange, which that's fine by me. I don't want to use them because we've only been in stage 3 twice. And both times it was August, September when it started. And this is why this is unusual. It's June. Okay. There's our
Fund balance.
fund balance. Which is where?
You're looking at a $10.6 million ending fund balance.
I see it.
Thank you.
Okay. Cue me up.
Yeah, bring it. Public Works.
General fund part. Okay. Public Works, this consists of 3 divisions: engineering, traffic, and streets and drainage. Engineering provides the in-house design, review of private subdivisions, developments, technical support for other departments. Oversees the stormwater drainage master plan and its update, assessment, street assessment program, and capital improvement plan. Streets Drainage Division maintains approximately 326 miles of streets, along with sidewalks and the drainage systems. Traffic Control Division maintains the traffic signals, school zone flashers, and all the signs and markings. Organizational chart, you'll see the Director of Public Works, and then you'll see the city engineer and the assistant streets and drainage and traffic. That is a proposed position in the future. So that's not there right now. And then we have the administrative portion. In this, you will see the proposal of the additional engineer. Right now, we have one. That's where we're looking at two. And in the street sweeping portion that was under pretreatment that I talked about will fall under Streets Division. So they'll be actually managing and running the street sweeping program. This is a picture of each group. Engineering is on the upper left, then you have streets, of course, and then you have traffic control. We have 45 employees total, and we're currently at 40, which that's a good division. We're holding tough on that one.
Which are the guys that fill the potholes?
The large group on the right.
All right, thank you to them.
Yes, they work hard, and that's I think those, and we'll get into that, those 3 pothole trucks have done wonders. They really have. I mean, I think we're being proactive, and we'll show that in this presentation. Department mission, enhance quality of life for residents and businesses with the high-quality design, cost-effective services to street drainage and traffic network with an emphasis on customer care, health, safety, and welfare. Goals and objectives, development of the capital improvement program, maintain and improve the drainage system by storm sewer cleaning, regrading, and cleaning roadside ditches. Improve the street network to raise the street assessment PCI scores, improve mobility by optimizing signals and signage, and improve citizen communications. And that's going to be part of our new work order system. James has been wonderful in working through that, and we're the guinea pigs for the city on our city works. Some of the highlights: in-house design of the final phase of North Heights Phase 7, the mill and overlay projects, in-house design, and the residential street project were in-house, and so was Woodway and Bridle Ridge, all in-house designs. Streetlight conversion to LED Phase 1. It's hopefully going to happen in July. That's 2,000 lights. We completed the capital improvements plan. This is where we repaired 32,000 potholes, 21,000 proactive, which is, that's that purpose of that third sweeper, and then 10,000 reactive. Roadside ditch cleaning by zone, 3,000 linear feet. And that we can add into that Guy grant. That's part of that ditch cleaning. Storm sewer cleaning, 364,000 linear feet. It does sound like a lot, and it is. We cleaned, those are the areas up in the middle part of town, zone 5, 6, and 7. We have 8 zones. And then we annually restripe 5 miles of streets. I gotta get a drink. Efficiency, sign replacements by subdivision. We've started that this past year. Replacing the HPS streetlights with LED lights. Increase in-house design. That will also help with if we get that secondary design engineer. And expand the integration of our transportation network through our TMT meetings, which is a group of state, police, fire, us, VISD. We meet at least once a quarter. Some of our performance metrics: street improvements in miles. This does include the mill and overlays. It includes the seal coating and reconstruction. As you can see, we've done 13 miles, and we're getting up to 13.4. 2024 is going to be our big year. And that one, I think we're going to see where we hit all those subdivisions. And then each year as we move through that CIP, we're hitting more and more of the arterials and collectors. which is, I think we're going to get to that point where we want to reach that 112 magic number. Street ratings, we're seeing them go up slightly from 66 to 67. And in crack seal, we're up to 260,000 linear feet. That's about 50 miles of crack sealing. It's a lot, but it really is a big preventative to help maintain our streets. New programs, initiatives, signal timing project for Navarro and Houston Highway, working with TxDOT on that. We want to implement the black and yellow outline backplates, the ones that are at Ben Wilson and Red River. Those are stand out. A lot of the cities, progressive ones are going to that. That's what we want to go to, is we change out backplates, just backplates or signals. Revised left turn signals. Again, this is an initiative partnering with TxDOT to do the left turn flashing signals. Increase in-house design of CIP projects. Street lighting initiative phase 2. Reshape and clean 1,500 linear feet of roadside ditch in the Old Town area. And then 250,000 linear feet of storm sewers in the remaining zones of Victoria. Some of that is the middle of town, Castle Hills, north area of town, Windcrest. And an in-house sweeping program.
Would you explain what the left turn flashing signal is all about?
The best thing it's in some of the city, I think we have 2 of them already. Morning Glory in Navarro has it.
HEB on Houston Highway has that too, I think.
Yes, the 2 new signals, and then the Palm Drive will have it. It's the MUTCD, that's their new, that's what, safety-wise, they're pushing towards that. The big thing is, once they're new, you got to put the sign up to explain to citizens. After we get a lot of them installed, I think we'll be okay. It's kind of like when we did the left turn permissive. We went from left turn arrow, and then we used to do red ball right away. Well, we went left turn arrow and then green ball. And this town went nuts for a couple of months, and that was a simple one. But I think what we'll have to do is we'll have to put up some signage.
So what does it mean?
Yellow flash.
It
What
means
the
when it's flashing yellow,
That
it's
means-
caution. You can still go, but it's cautionary.
And is it ever the green arrow, or is it always the yellow flashing?
It's green arrow and then it goes to yellow flashing, and that's your caution movement.
Because I've only seen the yellow flashing, and that's why I wanted you to
No, it'll go
explain it.
green, but it's that yellow flashing that's, instead of
Proceed
the
with
green
caution.
ball, you do the yellow flashing. And then clean 250,000, I already did that one, in-house street sweeping. Let me go to the budget highlights again. I took some of the larger highlights of it. One of the biggest things was and I'm going to slide down to it because it's a huge amount. Where to go? There it is. Street department went from 11 million to 7 million. That's a $4 million decrease. That's due to completion of North Heights Phase 7 and Woodway Bridle Ridge. There's still money in there for the street regular maintenance, the seal coat projects. That's always been in there, that's included. We finished those projects, so that's where we were able to reduce that amount. We're adding an additional engineer for $100,000, pay partial the city engineer for $57,000. We're gonna saw cut Lone Tree Road at Loop 463. We're continuing our saw cut program of our concrete streets. Dump truck for streets division and new bucket truck for traffic control. The crack seal program, traffic conduit replacement, that's 3 intersections to replace some of that conduit that's old. And then striping program for $210,000. And from there, I'll answer any questions. And the video's coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Mr. Lesack, Environmental Services and Community Appearance.
I don't know what to say. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the environmental services budget. I'm not going to go through the description because it's kind of lengthy. I just want to make sure everyone understands. We take care of all the trash in town, the recycling, the brush, the bulky, the yard waste. We also operate or oversee the operation of the landfill, the compost facility, and all the new flower beds around town comes from our department. This is our org chart. There are a couple of differences I'll draw your attention to. On the automated drivers, we went from 6 to 7, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And on the overgrown lot abatement worker, we didn't want to use weedy lot, so we kind of fancied it up a little bit. Those are 2 new employees additions also that I'll explain a little bit later in the program. Here's our solid waste crew, and then we've got some smaller pictures. I do have a video. It's about 40 minutes. I'm going to get it started, and then I'll come back. Not really. I wouldn't do that to you. But I would ask you to go out and look at it. PIO did a great job putting that together. It's kind of a day in the life of a couple of our automated drivers and one of our supervisors. So goals and objectives. You know, our goals kind of stay the same. We want to maintain and improve our route efficiency. And that's kind of where the extra driver comes in that I'll talk about. We've maxed out our efficiency as far as maintaining what we currently have due to the addition of carts. Provide education in regards to waste management services. Not only do we provide education on recycling and just what we do, but we also help out Public Works with talking about stormwater and conservation. We also provide oversight and support for Keep Victoria Beautiful. We oversee that through our department. Christy Euchre is their executive director, and she does a wonderful job with that. And then we work with Keep Victoria Beautiful Main Street program to beautify locations throughout the city. We've got flower beds all over town, from downtown to the Green Ribbon Project that's currently going on out at the Loop 463. Some of the highlights, I won't go through all these, but I think it's important to talk about a couple. Our department oversees all of the mowing contracts for the city of Victoria. So whether it's drainage, whether it's downtown, whether it's Public Works offices, lift stations, water wells, we oversee those contracts for all of that mowing. We also, which is a big thing, completed the application process for the landfill expansion projects. That's in TCEQ's hands. I was on a conference call with them for about an hour this morning, and so we're well on the way to working to get that approved. The 940 tons of recycling is not that big of a deal. What the big deal is that our contamination rate's only 21.6%. We'd love to have it around 10, but 21% for us, when we used to get months where we had 60%, we're doing very well. And I think that goes back to our new tagging program and some of the education that we put out. Speaking of the new tags, we had one of our drivers come up with an idea that we have one tag that covers everything. Why can't we have different tags for different lines of business? And so we looked into that, we've incorporated, and it's made a huge difference because now when you get tagged for a reason for recycling, what's on the tag is just about recycling. Not confused with garbage, not confused with yard waste or other things. This year, we also began the pickup for code enforcement. So instead of code enforcement having to go out and look at piles, and we talked to council about this, Julie and I, what we do is my drivers identify the piles, they tag the piles, we send the letter, and 7 days later, if we haven't been contacted, we go pick it up and issue the charge to their water bill. That has made a huge difference. We've cut 14 days off of that process of the time that it would take to get those piles picked up on a normal basis, the way it was done before. Going on to some of our metrics, we've increased our Facebook posts by about 450. I don't want to really talk too much about the tonnages. They're here. You'll see kind of, we had a jump, especially in solid waste tonnages in 2021. That was from all the people being at home. We're seeing that kind of come back down. I'm expecting an uptick, but the reason I'm expecting an uptick is because we've got more business coming into town, we've got more homes, and we're delivering extra carts like they're going out of style. So I expect that to keep rising. Recycling tonnage pretty much stays the same annually, the same with yard waste. On the landscape projects, we're now taking care of 21 landscape projects on a weekly basis. We are getting pretty close to the maximum that we can handle when we take on the Green Ribbon Project. Department efficiencies, review collection routes and reroute to a manageable number. This is where we're bringing in that extra employee. We have delivered, since we've started, just in extra carts, we've delivered almost 6,000. A route for a normal solid waste driver is 4,000 carts a week. So we've actually delivered enough carts to create another route and a half, but we've been able to manage it with the same amount of drivers without adding. I can't continue to do that. There brings in the need for the additional driver. And what we're gonna do is create another route that will be a partial route, but it'll be partial recycling, partial solid waste, to level those routes back out, because at the point we're at now, I have no room for growth. So any new subdivisions, any new, we've got multiple trailer parks that have come in that use our services. I don't have room for those anymore. So it's important that we bring this driver in. I don't need to get an extra truck because it's only a partial route, but it will also help us when I'm down drivers, such as right now when I'm 2 drivers short. So it'll allow us to continue to pick up routes and not cause service interruptions for our customers. Currently, this is the first time we've done this in 15 years, we are conducting an audit. So we brought back one of our retirees, one of my old supervisors, Frank, and he is riding behind our garbage trucks and he's auditing all the extra carts in town to make sure that every cart's being paid for, and the ones that aren't being paid for, we will contact the owners to make sure that they are. And if we come across carts that are at vacant houses and things, we can pick up so that we're not ordering carts when we really don't need to. So that audit's going on right now. We're about 2.5 weeks into that audit. It'll be a 7-week audit. We expect it'll take us about 2 weeks to finalize the numbers and then start making phone calls as needed. And then we constructed a greenhouse. If you get a chance to come over to solid waste, this has been a huge thing for us. The Community Appearance Department, after the freeze that we had last year and lost so many plants, and a little bit of downtime we had this winter, we built our own greenhouse behind one of the buildings. All of the plants that you're gonna see us plant this week and next week at the Green Ribbon Project, we grew from seeds in that greenhouse. Probably saved the city well over $1,000 in small bedding plants. And that will keep going, because what will happen is we'll be able to bring stuff back during the winter, keep it, and then put it back out in the spring, and we're able to grow our own plants. So it's a great thing. New programs. So starting, I believe today, we went live with the new membership program for Keep Victoria Beautiful. So what that will allow people to do is commercial businesses, individuals such as homeowners and students can now join KVB and be part of the membership. We'll continue to monitor debris throughout thoroughfares throughout the city. You know, we started the strike team a couple of years ago. And so what they're doing is if Mr. Garza calls and says, hey, there's a mattress on this corner, or there's a pallet over here, what we can do is we send the strike team over, they pick it up right away, and it doesn't sit there for days. And then we're focusing on maintaining our current projects that we have through the Community Appearance Department, and then improve the appearance of Victoria in our new overgrown lot abatement program. So what we will do is code enforcement will still do their part as far as identifying, but with IT's help and the new CityWorks, they will print a work order that will go to our office. We will then send the two new employees out, and they will be able to hop on these weedy lots right away and take care of them in a much faster and hopefully much more efficient and hopefully cheaper than what we were paying contractors to do the work before. So going into my revenue highlights, our budget's $6.2 million. This is our revenue, an increase of about $248,000 or 4.1%. A big part of that is the 137,000 of it actually is the rate increase that we want to do for extra carts. Currently, the charge for extra carts is $5. We just talked about me adding drivers or adding a driver, and the reason we need to add that driver is due to the extra cart. So we want to put the expense where it needs to go, which is on those extra carts, because that's what's causing us to have to add the extra driver, to add the extra routes. And so what we're projecting or what we're asking council will be, we will come back and ask for a $1.50 rate increase to the $5. So an extra cart will become $6.50 a month instead of $5 a month. And so I'll pause there for a minute in case anybody's got a question as far as that rate increase goes. That would take effect October 1.
And the last time we looked at that rate was?
That rate has been the same since 2008.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I'm glad to see it in here, and I was kind of surprised that it's only $1.50. Is there any way to know if those extra carts are really, if the initial cart is really full and if the extra cart is needed? I mean, our carts are so much bigger than carts in so many communities that I see.
I will tell you that there are a lot of extra carts that aren't used on a weekly basis, but people hold on to them for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for graduation parties, for whatever reason, or just overflow from time to time. Maybe during the summer, the kids are home from college.
So the impact of that is good for the city because we get the
Correct.
extra revenue.
Yeah, assuming they're paying for them.
Assuming that they're paying for them, and that's what we're making sure of right now.
So you're thinking they're maybe not being billed for them?
I know that there are some out there that aren't being billed for.
I see.
What happens is so I move, and when I move, I don't.
It happened to me, but I was a good citizen.
Exactly.
I moved to a home that had two carts. So when I went to sign up for, water service, I didn't tell them I had two carts, right? So I'm just paying for one, but I didn't tell him I had a second cart because I didn't need it. I called him to come pick it up. But that's how so easy it could be to have an extra cart and not pay for it, because you move into a home that's got multiple carts. You sign up for water service and don't tell them that you have multiple carts. And so you're just paying for one, but you have two or three.
Okay. And so that's what this audit is designed to pick up.
And so he's literally following and saying, okay, that house clearly has three carts, cross-reference it with our records. Are they actually paying for three carts? And if they're not, then they'll get a call saying, hey, you're not paying for that extra cart.
Would you like to keep it? And so what will happen is once we finish this, the extra 2 weeks that I talked about, we will sit down with the UBO department, and we'll discuss the best way to go about making those phone calls, making those adjustments. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. The change won't happen until council approves the increase in October, so it would still be $5. But if you don't want to keep it, then we would put in a work order to have the cart picked up and brought back. And then we wash them out and redeliver them. The next thing, so there's a $125,000 decrease in other sources, other fund sources, due to we are looking at, there's money in there to, and I think Mr. Garza covered this, to pressure wash Loop 463 at Navarro, Loop 463 at John Stockbauer, and the Moody Street Bridge. Navarro and John Stockbauer, because we just finished, as of actually today, the Green Ribbon Project. The contractor's done. Now, the city, we've still got some work to do. But it will really make those areas look that much better if we pressure wash those overpasses. If you go by them, you'll see the black that's dripping down off the loop onto them. The pavers look bad, and so we will, if approved, use that $125,000 to do that. Hopefully, it's enough now. That price is about a year old, but we'll work with it. And then our landfill. I'm sorry.
I want to add to that we're approaching it as a, I guess, pilot of sorts, because we want to weigh the pros and cons of, maybe having power wash crews in-house versus outsourcing, et cetera. But there's plenty of areas that could use power washing, right? And so we're exploring the feasibility of maybe having things on a 5-year cycle where every year we invest a certain amount of money in power washing, but we know that at least every overpass or every underpass or every whatever median, et cetera, gets power washed once every 5 years as an example. So this is very early stage of thinking long-term around the community, the beautification piece of power washing. Sounds so basic, right? But we know could make such a big difference in making something look clean. And then you combine that with the fact that we now have our control over street sweepers, makes it even easier to power wash things off medians, off walls, and then have our own street sweeper come back right behind that and pick everything up, right? So everything in some way, shape, or form is connected.
So you're actually thinking of power washing the overpass?
Yes, sir.
Why is that not TxDOT's responsibility?
Well, that's a good question, because TxDOT will tell you they don't have money budgeted to do that. And I don't believe there's an interest to them to budget money to do that.
Wow.
This will be factored into any drought contingency plans?
It would have to be, yes, sir. We've even set our timers based off the drought contingency plans out at the loop so that we're within compliance as well. Lastly, on revenue, so we're going to see an increase in our gas revenue, which was, I don't know, $20,000, $25,000 a year, to $187,000 due to our gas producer, Mass Energy, being able to create another product out there and send it down the same pipeline. That's a huge increase for us and a big help to our bottom line. Now, if you ask me to explain it, you'll have to ask Gilbert, because it's a financial thing that I do not understand. Expense highlights. So when we get to expenses, our budget is $6,500,000, a decrease of about $148,000 or 2.2%. Some of the 23 expenses include $1.24 million in one-time expenses, $5.3 million in recurring expenses, or about 3%. So here's the personnel increases we talked about. So we have a personnel increase of $13,489 due to baseline adjustments. We have $93,593. That covers the 2 overgrown lot abatement crew members. Then we have $42,416. That's for the additional automated driver. And $45,000 for the Phase 3 compensation plan. Baseline adjustments, new hires, retirements, and those types of things. There's a slight increase in overtime. Now, the reason we did the increase in overtime is because now we're doing twice a year neighborhood cleanups. The disposal alone from those things is, especially the last one that we did, was over $2,000. And so it would be foolish for us not to expect that to continue. And so we're making adjustments to that and some overtime expenses to cover the work that we have to do in those 2 neighborhood cleanups a year. Now, I will say this fall, we will do Silver City Part 2. And then next spring, we'll be working on Queen City, and I have not cut that up yet. So that will be something we'll come back to council on, but I expect large loads out of both of those areas. An increase in budget amount for trash recycle carts. So we're at a point now where we're starting to see some of our older carts, and I've talked to council about this for years, but we've managed to get by. But now we've got carts that have been out there 15 years, and they're starting to go bad. And so we've asked for a few more carts. Now, we're hoping to pull some in from our from our route audit that we're doing, but I still expect.
People who don't want to pay the extra expense?
Yes, but I do still expect, and when if we bump the rate up to $6.50, some people may cancel. I mean, if they're just holding on to it for once a year thing, they may cancel. I mean, so we expect to see some of those come back regardless, but we do believe we're gonna need more carts going forward. And then we have the increase for the power washing of the Moody Street Bridge, the overpass at 463 in Navarro and John Stockbauer, that $125,000. And then we have an increase in one-time collection. So we're looking at 2 automated trucks. I will tell you that we have pushed our trucks out from 7 years to 9 years. So when I say we need to replace them, we really need to replace them. But I will also say that based off the way things are going right now, it could be a year and a half before I see these new trucks if we order them in October. So with that, I will show you, we have 8 different budgets that's combined into this one budget. So if there's things you want to look at in particular, you can go out and look at those. And the last thing I wanted to cover was our full-time employees. Currently, we're slated at 28. We have 26 currently, so I do have 2 open positions, both drivers, unfortunately. And so if there's any CDL drivers out there, we're hiring. And our count will go to 31 with the addition of the automated driver and the 2 crews to mow the, I hate to say weedy lots, but the weedy lots. And I'll take any questions. I know it's a lot, but it's really explained well in the individual budgets. And if you really want to see the movie, I can play it for you if you've got nothing to do for the next 40 minutes.
So we have 1 rate increase.
Yes, sir.
Just $1.50.
And that's only for extra carts. So
Yes.
most of Victoria current for this year will not see an increase to their garbage rates. And that's important.
Nor utility.
Right. That's kind of what I was pointing out. The whole thing, there's 1 rate increase, and it only specifically addresses if you have an extra cart and it's $1.50 more a month, so $6.50.
And that's for both garbage and recycle, in case I wasn't clear on which carts.
And yet we're
Oh, you can
working-
get 2 recycle carts.
You can get up to 4 carts, additional carts.
And yet with all that, we're still working on expanding the landfill and absorbing the cost of doing that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the cost that we use for expanding the landfill is actually set aside in a different account. That's money that's transferred out of the solid waste budget every year, put into a post-closure fund and others. And so that's paid for out of an account. We have to maintain a certain amount of money in case TCEQ comes down and says you need to close your landfill. We have to be able to financially be prepared to do that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so next up is Communication Public Affairs. I'm actually not going to do it. Ashley's not back at work yet either, but Lauren Moe, our Public Safety, Community and Public Affairs Manager, is going to spearhead this conversation. Lauren?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. As Jesus Garza said, I will be going over the Communications and Public Affairs budget for this evening. And the department description, short and sweet, the Communications and Public Affairs Department is responsible for the planning and implementation of the City of Victoria's communications efforts, both internally and externally. We accomplish these efforts through all of our mediums with the TV 15, our social media pages, the website, media relations, digital content, our newsletter, our Citizens Academy, and our community events. So this is an updated organization chart. As you can see, we added, or hope to add, the admin assistant over here on my right side, and then my position, the Public Safety Community Affairs Manager, will be officially part of the Communications and Public Affairs Division. So here's our team. And then I'm sure all of you remember just recently the team has been recognized for 2 of the videos that were created, which were the Christmas parade, the live stream, and the video that was made for DJ Daniel. We were recognized at the Tamio conference just at the beginning of the month. So our mission is to provide relevant, accessible communication with its residents and our employees. Through creative and modern means, we aim to provide timely, accurate information in cohesive ways to meet the needs of a diverse population and foster positive, productive engagement with our citizens. And here's the video Daryl was talking about. He stole my joke. I was gonna make a joke about playing it as well. It really is a great video. It's a behind the scenes, boots on the grounds of the amazing employees that we have, and the communications team did a great job creating this piece. So if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to do so. So our goals and objectives for the upcoming year is to continue to create compelling, creative content that is educational and relevant and interesting, hence the Talking Trash video. We'll also improve all existing technologies to stay up to date on digital trends and maximize our efficiency in reaching connecting with our community. We're going to provide processes and communication channels to help ensure consistent and timely messaging as well as brand management. We'll build stronger community relationships by increasing public affairs, community engagement efforts, ultimately enhancing the livability of Victoria. And over here on the right side is the DJ Daniel video. Again, if you haven't seen this, it's a great video, a great snapshot of the amazing day that we had here in Victoria. This video actually made it on to Police One, which is a national website that departments use nationwide for training and other information pieces. So that was huge to see that this video that the team created made it to that platform. A couple of our highlights for fiscal year 2022, the new creative videos. Again, we talked about the DJ Daniel, we talked about Talking Trash. We've also received fantastic feedback on the city council recaps that we do every week or bi-weekly. They're great snapshots of what y'all are accomplishing here in these chambers, and our community members really just enjoy watching that 3 minutes, 4 minutes of what's unfolding in here. We also did the first ever in-house live streaming production with the Christmas parade. That was one that received the award from Tamio. We reorganized a little bit the Citizens Academy for 2022. Again, received great feedback on that as well, as far as the time and day and all the content that was provided in that. We have our program enhancements. We have new session elements. There's an announcement video. Ashley Strevel and Sam Hinkins earned their higher education designations. And then we've also partnered with VISD and Innovation Collective on Fireside Chats that are both now featured on our TV channel and weekly city newsletters. So now we're at our performance metrics. And over here, you're going to see the customer service phone calls received. However, we've seen a little bit of a decrease, but again, we're only in June, so we're on track to be where we were last year. And our print information materials and then our news releases, we did implement a new, I'm drawing a blank, a project management tool that we track all of everything that we have going on within our department, our news releases, the photos, the media request. When any city employee goes on and does an interview, we're tracking all of that now in this new project management tool called Trello. So you'll see different performance metrics next year as well with that tool. So our departmental efficiencies, we implemented the live stream production technologies to operate in-house and cut costs for the service of other departments, which is the Christmas parade that we have. And then, of course, we're gearing up for the July 4th live production that's going to happen on Monday night. We vastly improved operational efficiencies of department services through implementation of the Trello project management system. Again, next year you'll see different performance metrics, and it's been a great tool for us. We have a lot going on, a lot of requests, and it's a great way for us to assign tasks and manage those projects effectively. And then the Public Safety Community Affairs Manager role has moved over to the communications team, and I help facilitate the different communication between PD and fire. Here's another, this is the city council recap video. Again, great feedback. They're short and sweet, and they get straight to the point, but they're fun and interactive as well.
And I think that's the one where Jeff crashes it at the end, I think.
Really good.
Yeah.
They're really, really
Kind of
good.
flubbed my line.
We all do,
Daughters
don't
were
worry
all
about
over me
it.
about that.
So new programs and initiatives coming in 2023. We're going to build upon our live stream technologies and mobility, including the potential use of a custom-built live broadcast trailer, which I'll get into that in just a little bit. We're going to improve proactive public relations efforts internally and externally, potentially using Sprout Social. This is a data monitoring software that allows us, for example, when I'm on PD, I have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm allowed to post all at once versus copying and pasting and moving them to the different platforms. So that's been very efficient as well. Increase community engagement efforts, do new brand ambassador program and Citizen Academy Alumni Association, and we'll continue to increase output of creative educational content via TV programming, including the show Without a Name, and coupled with strategic promotional efforts. We had a creative session just a couple weeks ago, so keep your eyes out for new content. And then I'm gonna roll right into the PEG funds as it has something to do with the broadcast trailer that I just mentioned. I'm just gonna scroll through. There's a lot of the similarities in here, but I'm gonna get down. There we go. So as you can see, we are almost at $1 million in the PEG fund. We are requesting to use just over $122,000, and a bulk of those funds will be used for that trailer that we need to move all of our equipment around to these different live productions that we're doing. If you see over here at the bottom right, the total fund balance at the end of the year will be just over $900,000.
Long term, while she goes back to the other one, long term, you know, our one of our big goals in using the PEG funds is to build a studio that we can obviously rely on for a variety of different purposes. We haven't proceeded with that because we want to wait for the facility master plan to kind of provide us a better sense of where's the best place for it to go. You know, currently, for example, communication and public affairs is at 700 Main. So you might think, well, it makes sense to put the studio there. But long term, you know, once PD moves out of this complex, right, communication and public affairs would be one of the departments that would make sense to be at City Hall complex, you know, along with HR, finance, and a few others. And so once we get a better feel for what the long-term plan is for communication and public affairs and where it makes sense to invest the money for a studio, that's when we'll pull the trigger, if you will, and proceed with spending the money for that large effort that we sort of been building a pot of money for a while. You may recall that even our previous communications director, you know, had talked to you about it, and there was different iterations of it, you know, from buying a building and putting it in there. And so we're taking just a different perspective at it under the master plan lens.
Is there any way to have any synergy with EOC? Or just
Yeah, in terms of usage, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in case of an emergency, you'd almost have to have dual studios or abilities.
Yeah, well,
I have to think about it more.
yeah. I mean, we do, for example, the public safety headquarter building, you know, would have a briefing space that could be utilized for, you know, that type of environment. The studio, you know, could be utilized for that as well. But we envision the studio being more of where, you know, your green screen is, and some of the technology around filming some of these videos. More of that type of studio.
Okay.
More so than a media briefing room.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'll just roll into the 2023 budget highlights. The communications budget request equals $642,253, an increase of $145,000 $600 or 29.3% compared to fiscal year 2022 adopted budget of $496,653. The fiscal year 2023 budget includes no one-time expenses and $642,253 in reoccurring expenses, an increase of $145,600 or 29.3% from last year's recurring budget. I'm going to highlight this real quick. And then if you'll notice that there was a decrease in contractual services, but an increase in maintenance, that was just simply due to moving the total of $31,000 from one account to the next. And I'll take any questions.
Oh, great, good job.
Thank you.
All right, so my budget wrap-up's actually very, very simple. I simply want to show you where you can find this information. So can you go to our homepage? Let me go back, yeah. So you've obviously heard from all the departments, and it's a lot of information, but I know that, you'll spend a lot of time going through them on your own. So I want to make sure you can find where everything is located. I'll just go to the home page here. So, and this of course is accessible to not only you, but anybody who's interested in looking at the information. We've developed here a quick shortcut. As soon as you go to our webpage, victoriatx.gov, you'll see the fiscal year annual budget. So you simply would click on that. It takes you to information that we've gone through in this budget work session. Here at the bottom is the presentation that I went through yesterday. So that obviously has the high-level summary of everything that you've seen. We haven't quite updated these budget highlights yet, so these are still last year's, but we look at, we're waiting to see, how the CIP shapes up, because the CIP plays a big part of that highlight document. So we're not gonna invest, time and energy into creating that document until we finalize what we're gonna do with the CIP. But nonetheless, that presentation from yesterday is there. This link right here, click here to view the budget work session for fiscal year 2023, will take you to OpenGov. And we'll take you to the overarching summary pages associated with all of the stories. And so here you would find some information, of course, about yourselves, staff, citywide mission, community profile, a lot of the components that we typically include in the paper copy of a budget, right? You may recall that typically we would create these binders that had a lot of information. So we've tried to take a more digital approach to it. Ultimately, we still have to put together, staff has to put together, I don't do it. Staff puts together that binder and submits it to GFOA so that we can continue to get that recognition on our budget. Huh? It is? Nice. All right. Disregard. I still don't do it though. So in any case, here you would find some information, budget overview. As mentioned yesterday, tax information is always, of course, a high priority ticket. So it's one of the very first things that you would have access to. And I want you to see what that looks like. As discussed, our current tax rate, 0.5882. Currently preliminary, dropping that by a little over 4 cents. And here this gives you a sense of the property tax revenue over the course of the last few years. You may recall that early on during my tenure here, I showed you a 10-year history snapshot of property tax revenue over the course of the previous 10 years. And there was not a lot of new revenue that had come in during that time frame. And you can see how that's changed. You can see how over the course of just the last 4 years, there's been a big change in our philosophy around our tax rate, around our property tax revenue. That directly correlates to the fact that we've been able to invest more on employees and invest more into things that we do because of just a change in approach as it relates to our property tax revenue. Of course, it helps that our tax base has grown in that time frame to a degree that it had not before. So that's allowed us the ability to do that. But you can find some of that information here, including 5-year history of the tax rate to give you a sense of that, including what I just discussed. There's also the information on the sales tax that you could hover over to be able to compare that with property tax. And just gives you a really good sense of that. Now, you can see that sales tax is way more volatile than property tax, and that's why it's important to have a strong foundation in their general fund centered around property tax, not sales tax, because that's what gives us the confidence to be able to do more, right? So that's there. How can I go back? All right, I'm not going to go through every link, but I know the tax information is important, so I wanted to highlight that. Here you'll find overarching summaries around our governmental funds, enterprise funds, and internal service funds. Again, I won't click on any of those, but I know, for example, Mr. Lofgren, you want to know about fund balances. You can kind of get a sense of that in clicking through that. And then you can just navigate from there however you like. And so.
So if I wanted to see one of the other presentations than yours, I've kind of lost how I would do that. Or is that what you're saying? That's not on there yet?
You mean the budget stories?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be able, so as an example, let's see. Click table of contents. And here are all the links, hyperlinks to all of the stories. So for example, we just did communication and public affairs. So you would click on that and it would take you to the story that Lauren just went through.
Okay.
But this is your ticket here, the table of contents. Obviously, there's more stories than we went through, right? We'd be here all week, if we went through every story. Last year was the first year that we used OpenGov, right? And so this year, the information that is on OpenGov is way more than what it was last year because we've had a whole year to work towards uploading more information, creating more stories, right? So as an example, PEG Fund, right? I don't even think we had a story for PEG Fund last year, but now we have a short story for PEG Fund, right? So we're sort of taking advantage of using the setup of OpenGov to be able to put as much information out there as possible. So this table of contents document is where it's at. And maybe we can add some text here to kind of make that more clear. Okay. All right, and that was it. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. This information is available online. As I mentioned yesterday, at the August 2nd would be when I would propose and introduce the formalized proposed budget. So over the course of the next 5 weeks, we'll work on finalizing the CIP, work on finalizing the tax rate, and of course, work with you on any changes that you may want to see in the budget. So.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. I know it takes a lot of time to get to this point. It's preliminary. Thank you for the presentations from everybody. Very well done by everybody, very professional. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have questions for you throughout the coming months.
Awesome. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
The Wednesday scheduled meeting will be canceled.
Oh, yeah, sorry.